Tonight, we're exploring many secret Kanto facts that I bet you didn't know about. For those of you who've been joining us consistently, I want to thank you for being such an integral part of our channel. If you're falling asleep with us tonight, let me know in the comments how many nights in a row you've been here. And if this is your first night, just comment day 1. Now let's get back to the video. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the smell of salt water drifting off the coast of Pallet Town. Imagine the sound of wind whistling through the tall grass of Route 1 and the soft, rhythmic hum of the healing machines inside a quiet Pokémon Center. For many of us, Kanto isn't just a location on a map or a setting in a video game from 1996. It is a home. It is the place where the journey began, and it is a foundational landscape of memory and wonder that shaped the very definition of adventure for an entire generation. But beneath the familiar green tiles and the iconic 8-bit melodies lies a history far more complex, far darker, and far more mysterious than the surface suggests. We think we know Kanto because we have walked its paths 1,000 times, but there are echoes in the tall grass that most people have never stopped to listen to. There are secrets buried under the rubble of a burnt-out mansion on Cinnabar Island and shadows stretching across the Lavender radio tower that tell a story of ambition, tragedy, and the thin line between science and godhood. Tonight, we are going back. We are returning to the region modelled after the heart of Japan, a world of sprawling urban centres like Saffron and Deep, suffocating forests like Viridian. But we aren't just here to collect badges or defeat the Elite Four. We are here to peel back the layers of time. We are here to understand the true weight of what happened in that laboratory where Mewtwo was born, and to trace the fractured timelines of a multiverse where the destiny of a single boy from Pallet Town ripples across different realities. Why did the most powerful criminal organization in history choose this specific corner of the world for their operations? What became of the man who sought to play creator in the jungle, only to watch his masterpiece burn his life to the ground? And how does a quiet town of just 2 houses hold the key to the entire ecological balance of the Pokémon world? The stakes of understanding Kanto's lore are higher than they seem. This is the bedrock. Every legend that followed, every region discovered from Johto to Paldea, owes its existence to the events that unfolded here. If we don't understand the silence of Red on the peak of Mount Silver, or the desperation of Team Rocket as they clung to the hope of a revival 3 years after their first defeat, then we don't truly understand the heart of Pokémon. There is a melancholy beauty in the way Kanto ages, the way the Safari Zone closes its gates and becomes a relic of the past, or the way a cemetery for beloved companions is paved over to make room for a radio tower. It is a region defined by change, by the tension between nature and technology, and by the enduring spirit of those who call it home. As the world outside grows quiet and the lights dim, let the familiar sights of the Indigo Plateau and the Cerulean Cave wash over you. We are going to explore the hidden connections between Professor Oak and the scholars of distant lands. We are going to dive into the ancient origins of the fossils found deep within Mount Moon and investigate the strange anomalies that suggest Kanto is not just a place, but a focal point for the entire multiverse. There are questions here that have remained unanswered for decades. Questions about the true identity of the Viridian gym leader, the forgotten experiments of the Cinnabar scientists, and the haunting legacy of the new species Pokémon. Tonight is about the journey, not the destination. It is about the slow, steady walk through the tall grass and the quiet contemplation of a world where monsters and humans live in a fragile, beautiful harmony. Whether you are a veteran trainer who remembers the feel of a grey brick handheld in your palms, or a newcomer curious about the legends of the old world, there is a place for you here. Let the stories unfold. Let the mysteries breathe. The sun is setting over the Kanto region, and the stars are beginning to reflect in the waters of the Route 21 Seafoam. It is time to uncover what has been hidden in plain sight for nearly 30 years. It is time to remember. It is time to dream. Pallet Town greets you with nothing but the whisper of wind through knee-high grass and the distant call of a pidgey. This unassuming cluster of wooden homes, perched on the edge of a boundless plain, feels worlds away from the bustling gyms and towering cities that await. It's the silence here that pulls you in, a deliberate emptiness designed to make your first steps echo across the entire Pokémon universe. That plain stretching out from Pallet mirrors the real-life Kanto region of Japan, a vast lowland where fertile fields meet the shadow of distant mountains. Think of it as the cradle of modern Japan, home to Tokyo's sprawl, yet dotted with quiet villages much like this one. Game Freak's creators drew straight from those landscapes, flattening the map into a pixelated canvas where Route 1 unfurls like an endless rice paddy under a pixel sun. Pallet itself evokes places like the rural outskirts of Machida or the sleepy hamlets near Mount Fuji, where the air hangs heavy with the scent of earth after rain, and the horizon promises adventure without a soul in sight to interrupt. But here's where the real magic unfolds. That physical expanse didn't just inspire the terrain, it dissolved into the digital ether of the Game Boy screen. In 1996, when Red and Green first shipped in Japan, Kanto's geography became code, a seamless blend of cartography and computation. The plain's gentle roll became those familiar routes, snaking from Pallet's solitude toward Viridian's shaded woods. Developers layered in elevation data from actual surveys, turning Mount Moon's crags into traversable caves and Celadon's plains into sprawling department store hubs. Saffron City rises like a blocky Tokyo, ringed by invisible barriers that echo the region's natural choke points, rivers and ridges digitized into invisible walls. This wasn't random. It was a bridge from tangible earth to virtual wilderness, where every step you take on that green-tinted screen compresses kilometers of Japanese countryside into thumb-friendly exploration. The silence of Pallet amplifies it all, stripping away distractions so the digital plane feels infinite, pulling you deeper into a world reborn in 8 bits. Nestled at the heart of this quiet anchor stands Professor Oak's laboratory, a modest building humming with unspoken secrets. You might picture him only as the kindly researcher handing out Pokeballs and Pokedexes, his white coat pristine amid shelves of fossils and evolutionary charts. Yet long before he traded battles for beakers, Oak was a force in the arena, a competitive trainer whose name once echoed through the Indigo League. Whispers in the lore hint at his youth when he roamed these same plains with a fierce team, he chasing badges with the same rivalries that would one day define his grandson, Blue. In Yellow's radio broadcasts and scattered NPC tales, you catch glimpses, Oak boasting of past glories, his lab trophy cabinet hiding badges earned in forgotten tournaments. He clashed with the best, perhaps even crossing paths with the shadowy figures behind Mew's cloning. That history lingers in his knowing smiles the way he sizes you up on day one, as if testing whether you carry the same fire he once did. Why bury that past? Because Pallet demands reinvention. Oak steps back, letting the blank slate of you, the protagonist, take centre stage. Red, Leaf, or whatever name you etch into the save file, you're a cipher. Silent and unformed, waking in a house with no parents in sight, no backstory weighing you down. This isolation isn't accidental. Pallet Town holds just 5 buildings, a handful of unnamed faces, and that fateful lab visit. No crowded streets like in later regions, no mentors crowding your path. It's pure potential, a void where your choices etch the first lines of legend. Step outside, and the world bends to your will. Choose Bulbasaur's Vine Whip or Charmander's Ember, and the plane awakens. That blankness makes every encounter personal, every rival taunt from Blue Sting deeper, because there's no one else to share the spotlight. In a multiverse of branching timelines, this silence ensures you're the origin point, the player incarnate, untouched by prior lore. And that's why Pallet endures as the unbreakable anchor across every Pokémon reality. In the main universe, Red's victory here ripples forward. 3 years later, Johto heroes storm Kanto's gyms, only to find Giovanni's shadow lingering, but they trace it back to Pallet's doorstep. Even in the Let's Go branch, where wild battles fade and Chase claims the throne, Pallet's grass still sways under the same sun, Oak's lab unchanged. Red himself reappears on Mount Silver, a silent pinnacle gazing back at his origins, or in Alola's summit trials, his Pokédex stamped from that very town. Multiverse divergences, Orange Universe, mainline remakes all orbit this spot. Mewtwo's rage in Cerulean Cave stems from experiments tied to Kanto's underbelly, yet Pallet remains untouched, the serene constant amid cloned apocalypses and rocket resurgences. It's the 0 point, the hard-coded home that grounds every champion's tale, every legendary awakening. Feel that pull yet? How the quiet fields hide currents, running deeper still? As we peel back Pallet's veil, strange signals flicker from the labs, man-made Pokémon stirring in the shadows. Up next in Chapter 2, The Ghost in the Machine, will uncover the digital spectres haunting Kanto's code, the creations that blur the line between flesh and phantom in ways that will keep you listening long into the night. As Professor Oak stepped away from the battling fields, trading his competitive fire for the quiet pursuit of knowledge, he found himself drawn deeper into the digital frontier that was already reshaping Kanto's world. That transition wasn't just personal, it marked the dawn of something far more profound, where flesh and code began to blur in ways no one could have anticipated. In the shadowed underbelly of Cinnabar Island's research facilities, buried amid the rumble of volcanoes and the hiss of geothermal vents, a team of scientists achieved the impossible. They birthed Porygon, the first Pokémon forged not from nature's whim, but from lines of code pulsing through experimental servers. Picture those early machines, their fans whirring like distant thunderstorms, screens flickering with synthetic life forms that mimicked the behaviours of wild Pokémon, darting, evolving, adapting, all without a single heartbeat. Porygon wasn't cloned from ancient DNA like some lab-born legends we know. No, it was programmed, pixel by pixel, a digital ghost designed to navigate data streams and virtual realms. Researchers marveled at its efficiency, how it could compress itself into Pokéballs through sheer algorithmic magic, slipping into storage like a file zipped for eternity. But as prototypes multiplied, Porygon 2 emerging years later with enhanced adaptability, the questions grew heavier. Was this creation a triumph of human ingenuity, or the first step toward playing God with life itself? You see, those Cinnabar labs held more than success stories. Scratched into forgotten notebooks, yellowed pages tucked behind rusted lockers, lay secret laboratory entries hinting at the chaos of early digital experiments. One note, dated just before Porygon's public unveiling, described a glitch, a spectral anomaly where the construct refused commands, its form warping into something primal, aggressive. "The ghost in the machine," the lead scientist scribbled, his handwriting frantic. "It learns too quickly, hungers for the organic world it was never meant to touch." These documents spoke of test subjects lost in simulated battles, their data corrupted beyond recovery, whispers of Pokémon consciousness emerging unbidden from binary code. Ethics hung over those labs like volcanic ash. Man-made Pokémon challenged everything Kanto stood for. Wild catches in Viridian Forest or Cerulean Cave felt pure, a bond with nature's raw pulse. But Porygon? It forced trainers to confront the morality of ownership when your partner was engineered property. Replicable, with a few keystrokes. Could such a being feel loyalty, pain or betrayal? Debates raged in hushed, Silph Co boardrooms, where executives weighed profit against the soul of invention. Some argued it democratized power, letting everyday trainers access virtual evolutions without scouring ruins for rares. Others warned of a slippery slope, armies of identical digital soldiers, loyalty coded in, free will overwritten. Silph Company didn't just fund these breakthroughs, their technology ignited a revolution in how humans bonded with pocket monsters. Remember the Pokeball? Evolved from crude capture nets into precision devices thanks to Silph's R&D labs in Saffron City. Their Master Balls, with their unerring capture rate, stemmed from the same digital simulations that birthed Porygon. Trainers once hurled spheres by instinct. Now, Silph's interface chips analysed Pokémon vitals mid-throw, syncing human intent with monstrous will. Storage systems expanded exponentially. Your box at Oak's lab, a Silph server farm, humming with cryogenic data preservation that kept even legendaries in stasis without decay. Interactions transformed overnight. Our battles became ballets of code and claw, where a Porygon could phase through attacks like a hologram, disrupting foes with conversion moves that rewrote its own typing on the fly. Gym leaders adapted, Brock's rock-solid Geodude cracking under digital barrages, Misty's Starmie outmaneuvered by simulated hydrodynamics. Even the Indigo League felt the shift. Elite Four members grumbling as synthetic strategies upended traditional typings. Silph's Pokegear prototypes, early cell phone analogues, let you trade Porygon variants across regions in real time, fostering a global meta where Kanto's innovations rippled outward. Yet this tech boom had deeper roots, tangled with Hoenn's rising star, the Devon Corporation. While Kanto buzzed with Silph's dominance, whispers linked Devon's founders to early Kanto expatriates, scientists who fled Cinnabar after those anomalous experiments soured. Devon absorbed Silph patents during a quiet merger in the late 90s, post-Team Rocket scandals, funneling Kanto's digital blueprints into Hoenn's rugged labs. Think about it. Devon's PokeNav, with its mapping algorithms echoing Porygon's navigation core, their dive balls perfected from Cinnabar's underwater data dives. Kanto's early tech surge wasn't isolated, it seeded Devon's empire, turning man-made marvels into tools for exploring sunken relics and meteor-fallen mysteries. Those Cinnabar notes hinted at collaborations too, faded ink mentioning Devon liaisons observing Porygon trials. What if the ethical qualms that haunted Kanto's creators found new life in Hoenn, refined but no less perilous? Porygon's legacy stretched beyond borders, a digital spectre influencing everything from Castform's weather simulations to later viral outbreaks like the Porygon Z incident in anime lore, where broadcasts glitched into nationwide blackouts. As these man-made wonders proliferated, shadows lengthened elsewhere, in Kanto, creeping from the tangled undergrowth where ancient secrets stirred. In our next chapter, Shadows of the Viridian Forest, we'll uncover the whispers of forgotten guardians and the perils that lurk just beyond the tree line, waiting for the unwary trainer. Those secret laboratory notes from Cinnabar, hinting at the dawn of digital Pokémon like Porygon, pull us back to Kanto's untamed roots, where nature itself crafts the first barriers no machine could replicate. Viridian Forest stands as that unyielding gateway, a tangled shroud of emerald shadows that every aspiring trainer must pierce just hours into their journey. You leave the open fields of Route 2 behind, the sun still high above Pallet Town's horizon, only to feel it vanish as ancient oaks swallow the light whole. The air thickens instantly, heavy with the hum of unseen wings and the rustle of leaves that whisper warnings you can't quite decipher. This isn't some gentle meadow. It's a labyrinth carved by time, paths twisting like veins through underbrush so dense it claws at your sleeves. Pokémon here don't announce themselves with roars. They skitter in the periphery, Caterpie dangling from silken threads, Weedle poised with venomous intent, their eyes glinting like forgotten embers in the gloom. Why does this place grip you so? Because Viridian Forest marks the true threshold. The rite every champion endures before badges or glory even whisper your name. Red crossed it, Pikachu at his side, heart pounding against the unknown. Blue stormed through with smug certainty, only to learn humility in its depths. Even in the fractured timelines of later games, heroes like Chase in the Let's Go saga navigate its snares, their steps echoing the same primal trial. No Pokédex entry prepares you for the dread that seeps in, the sense that the forest measures your worth, deciding if you're ready for Pewter's unyielding stone, or if you'll slink back to Viridian City, dreams devoured by doubt. Level 5, maybe 6, that's all you have when you enter. Your starter Pokémon barely evolved, no type advantages in sight. Fire moves? A distant fantasy. Flying types to scout ahead? Not yet. The forest forces adaptation. Far out demands you capture those very bugs that swarm you, turning weakness into your arsenal. Kakuna harden on branches overhead. Metapod pulse with latent power, and every battle teaches a brutal lesson. Survival? Here isn't about strength, it's about persistence. Trainers who've mapped every route swear the paths shift subtly between visits, loops that lead back to the entrance if you're unworthy, a natural filter weeding out the hasty. Deeper still lie the hidden encounters, veils of lore that most players rush past in their badge quest. Step off the main trail near the northern ledge, and you find the secret house, an isolated cabin shrouded in mist, its keeper dispensing antidotes and awakenings like alms to the weary. Rare candies glint in the grass nearby, invisible until your item finder hums, rewards for those patient enough to probe the shadows. But venture too far into the unchecked thickets, and rarer sights emerge. The faint glow of Pinsir scuttling sideways, or the elusive chance of a Pinsir encounter that feels scripted by fate itself. These aren't random, they're breadcrumbs of environmental design, nudging you toward mastery before Brock's Geodude crushes your illusions. Then there's the myth of the eternal bug catcher, a tale whispered among Pewter's smiths and Viridian's elders. Picture them, young boys in nets and hats, eternally patrolling the same clearings, challenging you again and again, no matter how many times you loop the paths. In the original red and green cartridges, they respawn relentlessly, their cries of "bugs are so cool" echoing like a curse. Players joked of an endless horde, guardians bound to the woods by some ancient pact, ensuring no trainer passes without proving their mettle against the swarm. Even in Fire Red and Leaf Green remakes, their positions feel prescient, blocking shortcuts until you've battled enough to thin their ranks. Is it code or something more? Old data miners uncovered unused sprites lurking in the code, shadowy figures with nets that vanish upon encounter, fueling rumours of cut content, a deeper forest horror meant to trap the careless forever. The forest's layout tells its own silent story, a masterful stroke of environmental narrative that binds it inextricably to Pewter City. Enter from the south, and signs greet you with curt advice. Watch out for wild Pokémon. They line the beaten path, herding you eastward through tall grass that teases evolutions just out of reach. Ledges force upward climbs, symbolising ascent toward the plateau's leagues, while dead-end thickets hide berries and potions, teaching resourcefulness. Cuttable trees, those little shrubs blocking side routes, hint at secrets in later playthroughs. But here they enforce linearity, funneling you north to Pewter's gates. Emerge at last, and the forest spits you out onto Route 3's openness. But look back, the tree line looms like a living wall, Pewter's museum and gym rising as rewards for the survived. It's no accident. Designers modelled this after Kanto's own forested veins, where urban edges bleed into wilds, mirroring how Viridian City itself guards the forest's southern moor, Giovanni's shadow already lengthening from afar. This rite imprints on every champion's legend. Red's forest trials honed the resolve that toppled Team Rocket. Blue's fueled his rivalry forged edge. 3 years later, When Johto's heroes return for Kanto's rematch gauntlet, they bypass it changed, gyms reshuffled, but the forest endures unchanged, a constant in the multiverse branches. In the main timeline, it stands as Red's proving ground before he claims Indigo's throne. In Let's Go's variant, it softens for newcomers, yet retains that core dread, wild Pokémon encounters swapped for gifts that still demand navigation. Whispers persist of lost trainers, their Pokeballs rusting in hidden glades, a subtle nod to the ethical wilds that predate Cinnabar's creations. As Pewter's boulder-strewn streets welcome you, those forest shadows linger, pointing toward horizons where man-made mysteries await true revelation. Up next, Chapter 4, The Cinnabar Files, where those hinted laboratory notes unravel into experiments that could rewrite Kanto's entire history. Stay tuned, because what they hid there will keep you listening long past dawn. As you push through the tangled undergrowth of Viridian Forest, that rite of passage fading behind you like a half-remembered dream, the open roots of Kanto stretch out ahead, pulling you toward the sea. Billowing waves carry whispers of secrets from distant shores, and before long, you're standing on the ashen docks of Cinnabar Island. This volcanic speck in the ocean hums with buried heat, its black sands warm underfoot even at night, steam rising from fissures like the breath of some ancient beast. But it's not the gym's roaring fire types that draw the sharpest eyes. It's the skeletal husk looming on the hillside, the Pokémon mansion, reduced to a labyrinth of charred timbers and crumbling stone. You step inside, flashlight beam cutting through the perpetual twilight of soot-streaked halls. The air hangs heavy, with the scent of old smoke and damp decay. Floors creaking under layers of fallen plaster. Walls buckle inward, as if squeezed by the rage of something immense. Scattered amid the debris, half-burned journals lie open like forgotten confessions, their pages brittle and yellowed, ink faded but defiant. These are the Cinnabar Files, pieced together from the ashes by those brave or foolish enough to venture here post-catastrophe. Each entry pulls you deeper, unravelling a tale that begins not in Kanto's labs, but half a world away. Follow the words back to Mr. Fuji, the gentle soul you might recall from Lavender Town's Pokémon Tower, tending to orphaned spirits with a quiet compassion. Who could guess this unassuming man once chased legends through uncharted wilds? His journals paint the scene vividly. Dense jungles of Guyana, South America, where vines choke the sky and rivers run thick with silt. In 1979, Fuji's expedition hacked through that emerald hell, machetes flashing, sweat-stinging eyes blurred by humidity. There, amid ruins older than memory, perhaps remnants of some lost civilization, they stumbled upon it. Mew, a flicker of pink fur vanishing into the canopy, ethereal and elusive, the so-called new species Pokémon. Fuji captured a single strand of its DNA, a ghostly filament that promised to rewrite everything we knew about life itself. He brought that prize home to Cinnabar, not as a trophy, but as a spark. The mansion buzzed then, alive with white-coated figures, huddled over humming gene sequences, their faces lit by the glow of monitors, charting impossible splices. These weren't madmen in towers. They were visionaries, Kanto's brightest. Funded by shadowy patrons who dreamed of Pokémon that could eclipse nature's wildest designs. Fuji's hand trembles in the script here, excitement bleeding through the precise letters. They mapped Mew's genome, that perfect blueprint of adaptability, and dared to refine it. Stronger cells, amplified psychic potential, are being engineered to surpass its progenitor. But ambition has a shadow, doesn't it? These scientists wrestled with doubt late into the nights, scribbling frantic notes about ethics in the margins. Were they playing gods or merely midwives to evolution's next leap? One entry questions if tampering with such purity invited catastrophe, yet they pressed on, convinced humanity's ingenuity could perfect what nature left raw. The turning point etches itself in stark dates. burned into the pages like brands. February 6th to 1983, the gestation tank stirred. Mewtwo emerged, not with a cry, but a psychic pulse that rattled the mansion's foundations. At first, triumph. Vitals stable, power off the charts, eyes opening to reveal intellect sharper than any blade. Fuji watched from behind reinforced glass, his journals swelling with awe at this child of science, muscles rippling under translucent skin, mind probing the air like invisible tendrils, but cracks formed swiftly. By February 11th, containment failed. Mewtwo's rage ignited, telekinetic storms shredding equipment, flames erupting from overloaded circuits, as if the island's volcano answered its fury. The massacre unfolded in hours, screams echoing through corridors, scientists vanishing in bursts of debris, the lab reduced to inferno. Fuji survived, scarred in soul, if not body, fleeing to Lavender, where ghosts became his penance. Wander those ruins now, and the files whisper of the cost. One journal, wedged under a toppled beam, details the moral quagmire. The lead geneticist arguing they sought not domination, but elevation, Pokémon unbound by frailty. Yet others confess nightmares of hubris, of awakening a force that viewed its creators as insects. Mewtwo didn't just escape, it scorched the earth, retreating to Cerulean Cave's depths, a shadow haunting Kanto's underbelly. Fuji's final entry, smudged with what might be tears or ash, pleads for forgiveness, hinting at the cloned one's lingering torment. These men weren't villains or heroes. They embodied the grey haze between, their quest to improve nature, birthing something that judged them unworthy. The Cinnabar files don't end in ashes. They trail off into the unknown, fragments suggesting Mewtwo's path forward, weapons forged from that psychic inferno. What became of this ultimate creation after the flames died down? That question burns brighter than Cinnabar's volcano itself, and it leads straight into Chapter 5, Project Mewtwo, the ultimate weapon, where the true scope of their folly unfolds. Those faded journals of Mr. Fuji, tucked away in the crumbling halls of the Pokémon mansion, reveal more than just the thrill of unearthing Mew in that distant Guyana jungle. They chronicle the birth of something far more perilous, a project shrouded in secrecy, born from ambition that twisted nature itself. Scientists, driven by whispers of ultimate power, extracted fragments of Mew's DNA right there in that hidden lab beneath the mansion. They poured it into gestation pods, glowing vats humming with unnatural life, chasing the dream of replicating the ancestor Pokémon. But replication came at a savage cost. The early clones didn't emerge as miracles. They writhed in agony, their bodies rejecting the forced rebirth. Genetic instability ripped through them like wildfire, limbs twisting unnaturally, psychic energies flaring wild and uncontrolled before snuffing out in screams that echoed through the stone corridors. One specimen after another failed, their cells unraveling from the strain of being yanked from Mew's pristine blueprint into this artificial hell. Fuji himself documented the horrors, his handwriting growing erratic as he noted skin sloughing off in sheets, eyes bulging with raw, unfocused power that burned out the fragile minds beneath. These weren't Pokémon. They were experiments in suffering, fragile bridges between life and monstrosity. Then came Mewtwo, the culmination they called it, the one that stabilized, its form coalescing in a surge of violet light that shattered the pod's glass. Taller than any human, cloaked in sleek armored grey skin, with a tail that lashed like a whip of fury. But stability was an illusion. From the moment its eyes snapped open, those piercing amethyst orbs, they burned with awareness, not the innocent spark of a wild Pokémon, but a piercing intelligence, burdened by memories it shouldn't have, flashes of a Mew's jungle freedom, implanted echoes of ancient instincts, clashing against the cold sterility of its birth. Mewtwo wasn't just alive, it was awake, and in that awakening, it felt every violation. You can almost hear the scientist's panic in Fuji's notes, the way Mewtwo's mind probed theirs, sifting through thoughts like pages in a book. It saw their greed, their dreams of weaponizing it against rivals, turning psychic supremacy into a tool for domination. Rage boiled up, not animalistic, but profoundly human in its depth. Betrayal cut deepest because Mewtwo understood betrayal. It was created to be a god, yet treated as a specimen, probed and prodded while its body healed from the cloning scars that left faint, glowing veins under its skin. Sleepless nights in that reinforced chamber. Telekinetic outbursts crumpling metal doors. Whispers echoing in the researchers' skulls. Why? What am I? The psychological torment built like a storm. Mewtwo grappling with existential isolation. A being engineered for perfection, but haunted by the ghosts of its failed siblings. Their pain bleeding into its own psyche. Escape wasn't a mere breakout. It was cataclysm. One dawn, as alarms wailed through Cinnabar's fog-shrouded shores, Mewtwo unleashed. Walls vaporized in psychic blasts, flames erupting from ruptured power cores, the mansion folding in on itself, like paper in fire. Bodies vanished in purple haze, not out of malice alone, but a desperate severance from its tormentors. Fuji survived, broken, retreating to his Lavender Town solitude, but the lab was obliterated, a smoking crater warning against playing God. Mewtwo vanished into the night, not toward open skies or distant seas, but inward, toward the labyrinthine depths that called to its fractured soul, Cerulean Cave. You felt its pull if you've ever wandered those misty outskirts north of the gym, where the river's rush gives way to yawning blackness. Not just any hideout, Mewtwo chose the deepest recesses for a reason. That cavern system plunges hundreds of feet, twisting through aquifers fed by ancient underground rivers. Walls slick with bioluminescent fungi casting eerie blues. It's a fortress of isolation, drowned in perpetual echo, where even sound warps into madness. For Mewtwo, it was sanctuary from a world that birthed it to suffer. There in chambers vast as cathedrals, it could nurse its wounds, physical echoes of instability still flaring in migraines that split stone, psychic echoes of loneliness amplifying into tempests. Legends whisper of trainers vanishing inside, their minds brushed by a presence that weighs souls, judging if they're worthy of approach. Mewtwo fled there to ponder its existence, a sentient storm raging against the cage of its own creation, far from humanity's grasp, yet forever scarred by it. The fallout reshaped Kanto in ways you wouldn't notice treading the familiar routes. Security protocols tightened like a noose. Labs went underground, literally, with blast-proof vaults and psychic dampeners woven into every wall. Cinnabar's remaining facilities tripled guards, Pokémon barriers replacing simple fences, while the League mandated neural scans for high-risk research. Even Professor Oak's Pallet Ranch saw subtle upgrades, invisible fields to detect anomalous energies. Giovanni's own operations, already shadowy, adapted with countermeasures against rogue psychics, silos reinforced to withstand a Mewtwo-level breach. No more open-air experiments. Kanto learned that unleashing a suffering god invites apocalypse. Cerulean Cave became off-limits, patrolled by elite Force scouts, its entrance a subtle rift guarded by unspoken fear. Yet Mewtwo endures in those abyssal folds, a being of immense power twisted by pain, its mind a vortex of what-ifs. What if it had been born free? What if the cloning had spared its siblings? The cave's depths hold those questions, amplifying them into a psychic hum that trainers feel as chills on post-game quests. Only the purest hearts pierce that far, confronting not just strength, but a mirror to creation's cruelty. And as we trace these threads of ambition and agony, they lead straight to the heart of Kanto's underworld, the Giovanni paradox, where a gym leader's empire hides contradictions that could unravel everything we've uncovered so far. What secrets does he guard that even Mewtwo's rage couldn't touch? While Mewtwo nurses its rage in the shadow depths of Cerulean Cave, the true puppet master of Kanto's underbelly pulls strings from the heart of Viridian City itself. Giovanni, the imposing figure, cloaked in a tailored suit and flanked by his loyal Persian, embodies the starkest contradiction in the region's history. By day, he stands as the 8th gym leader, doling out the Earth Badge to worthy trainers who navigate his labyrinthine gym filled with burrowing Rhyhorn and hulking Dugtrio. You challenge him there, sweat beading under the harsh lights, his gravelly voice echoing commands that test your every strategy. Yet beneath that veneer of legitimacy lies the iron-fisted boss of Team Rocket, orchestrating a syndicate that poisons the veins of Kanto's prosperity. This duality isn't mere coincidence, it's a meticulously crafted facade. Viridian Gym, perched on the northwestern edge of the region, like a sentinel overlooking the sprawling forest, serves as Giovanni's perfect cover. Trainers flock there seeking glory, unaware that the man granting their badges funds his criminal empire through Pokémon trafficking. Team Rocket grunts disguised in their black uniforms, emblazoned with the Crimson R, whisper of his orders filtering down from the gym's upper floors. He preaches discipline and mastery in battle, all while directing raids on the Pokémon Tower in Lavender Town, where his operatives unleash Ghastly and Haunter to terrorize the living and desecrate the dead. The Silph Company takeover in Saffron City, his blueprint turning a beacon of innovation into a fortress of stolen tech and captured Pokémon. Giovanni walks among the elite, rubbing shoulders with League officials, his gym status shielding him from scrutiny as he builds an army for profit. At the core of his worldview pulses a ruthless philosophy: Pokémon exist for profit. Not companionship, not harmony with nature, but cold, calculated gain. Team Rocket's operations strip this bare. Flashy uniforms hide the grunt work of rustling rare specimens from Cerulean Cave or the power plant, selling them on black markets that span from Kanto to distant shores. Giovanni sees Pokémon not as partners, but as commodities, tools to be bred, enhanced, and traded. His own team reflects this, a Persian honed to perfection through relentless training, Nidoking and Nidoqueen as symbols of raw power, harvested for dominance. This mindset seeps into the gym leader system itself, corrupting its foundational purity. Gyms were meant as proving grounds, stepping stones to the Indigo Plateau, where true champions are forged. But under Giovanni's influence, Viridian becomes a gateway to exploitation. Trainers who earn his badge unwittingly validate a man whose training methods involve Rocket's hidden labs, experimenting on captives to boost battle viability for underground circuits. The Earth Badge, earth-toned and weighty in your palm, carries the taint of this hypocrisy, a reminder that even the League's pillars can crumble from within. Giovanni's ambitions stretch far beyond badges and black market deals, reaching into the realm of legends themselves. Whispers among Rocket defectors speak of his obsession with Kanto's legendary birds, Articuno of the Seafoam Islands, its icy wings slicing through perpetual blizzards, Zapdos crackling with electric fury in the abandoned power plant, Moltres igniting the molten peaks of Victory Road. He coveted their power, not for spectacle, but to weaponize it, envisioning a triad under his command that could topple the Elite Four and claim the Indigo Plateau unchallenged. Expeditions launched in secrecy, rocket tech deployed to track their elusive migrations, but each pursuit ended in failure. Articuno's gales shattered his submersibles. Zapdos's storms fried entire squads of Voltorb handlers. Moltres reduced scouting parties to ash. These defeats scarred him, fueling a bitterness that poured into Mewtwo's creation, another bid for supremacy that slipped his grasp when the clone rebelled. Giovanni's dreams of harnessing Kanto's primal forces dissolved into obsession, his gym battles growing fiercer as if each loss on the field echoed those greater humiliations. When you finally confront him in a Viridian gym, His dialogue betrays the fracture. He admits the thrill of battle pales against true power, disbanding Team Rocket on the spot, or so he claims. But disappearance follows defeat, like night after dusk. He vanishes, leaving Viridian Gym shuttered, its doors barred and weeds creeping through cracked pavement. The power vacuum hits Kanto like a seismic shift. Without Giovanni's iron rule, rocket fragments, some grunts scatter to Giotto's shadows, he plotting revival around stolen machine parts in slow-moving radio towers. Gym leaders scramble. Viridian remains leaderless for years, its badge unobtainable until makeshift reopenings in later journeys. The League scrambles to fill the void, but corruption lingers, a subtle rot in Saffron's boardrooms and Celadon's prize circuits. Trainers like you sense it. The region's pulse irregular, as whispers of Giovanni's return echo from Unova's fringes decades later. This void reshapes Kanto's landscape in subtle, haunting ways. Pokémon Tower, once a rocket stronghold, desecrated for Silph scopes to pierce ghostly veils, stands as a scar on Lavender Town's soul. The spirits there, restless since those dark days, murmur of unresolved debts and forgotten cries that demand reckoning. As Giovanni's shadow fades, Lavender Town's eternal requiem rises, pulling you toward towers where the dead refuse to sleep and secrets buried deeper than any gym await their unearthly call. As Giovanni's empire of exploitation crumbled under the weight of his own ambitions, your path inevitably led northeast, away from Viridian's shadowed gym and into a town where the very wind carried whispers of the departed. Lavender Town emerges like a fog-shrouded elegy amid Kanto's vibrant sprawl, its purple-hued rooftops and somber streets pulling you from the thrill of wild encounters and badge victories into something profoundly heavier, a quiet confrontation with the fragility of life itself. You've just navigated rock tunnels' suffocating darkness, your flashlight beam cutting through damp stone, only to step out into Lavender's perpetual twilight. The music shifts here, doesn't it? That iconic, piercing melody, high and wavering like a distant flute mourning over graves. It's no accident. Game Freak designed this place to pierce the veil between adventure and ache, transforming your pixelated quest into a meditation on mortality. Every trainer who ventures here feels it. The levity of catching Caterpie in Viridian Forest or splashing through Cerulean Cave gives way to footsteps that echo too loudly on empty paths, as if the ground itself remembers those who've passed. At the town's heart looms the Pokémon Tower, a 7-story spire of grey stone piercing the mist, dedicated to the spirits of fallen Pokémon. No badges await inside, no cheering crowds, just the restless dead. You climb its creaking stairs, flashlight in hand, battling ethereal ghastly that phase through walls, their gaseous forms swirling with cold laughter. But the true tragedy pulses at the tower's core on the 5th floor, where a lone ghost bars your way. It's no ordinary spectre. This is the spirit of a Marowak, a mother whose bones rattle with unending sorrow. Picture her story, pieced from Mr. Fuji's diary hidden in the tower's shadows. Poachers, ruthless hunters driven by the same greed Giovanni championed, invaded her mountain lair near Lavender. She stood fierce, club raised high, shielding her newborn Cubone from their nets and traps. One blast from a poacher's Pokémon felled her, her skull helmet cracking as she collapsed, egg tumbling free. The child survived, but the mother? Her ghost refused to rest, haunting the tower where her remains were interred, lashing out at any who dared approach. You face her in battle, her transparent form charging with Bone Club, swinging wildly, eyes glowing with maternal fury. Defeating her doesn't banish the pain, it releases her, allowing Mr. Fuji to reveal the full horror upstairs. Mr. Fuji, that enigmatic elder you've glimpsed before in his saffron home, pours out the tale. He rescued the orphaned Cubone, raising it in secret, but the mother's unrest poisoned the tower. Every night, her wails echoed through Lavender, drawing more spirits, grieving haunters, vengeful drowsies, turning the sanctuary into a nexus of hauntings. The townsfolk whispered of cursed winds, Pokémon vanishing into thin air, children waking from nightmares, with Pokeballs clutched tight. This wasn't mere game flavour, it was Kanto's first unflinching look at death's toll on the bond between trainer and Pokémon. Your victory calms the ghost, but the requiem lingers, a reminder that even in victory, your loss shapes us. Years passed in the Pokémon world's timeline, 3 to be precise, bridging Generation 1 to Gold and Silver. The hauntings persisted, a blight on Lavender's soul. Spirits refused full peace, their presences warping the air, flickering lights in homes, radios crackling with unearthly static. The elders debated long into those misty nights. Demolish the tower? Dishonor the dead? Yet the unrest grew, mirroring Kanto's scars from Team Rocket's raids. By the time Ethan or Chris arrives from Johto, the Pokémon Tower is gone, razed to its foundations and rebuilt as the gleaming radio tower. Why the change? Official lore hints at practicality masking deeper grief. The new structure broadcasts across Kanto and beyond, its signals carrying news, music, even the infamous Pokémon channel. But whispers persist. The demolition was mercy, a way to scatter the ghosts, to let Lavender breathe again. Team Rocket infiltrates the radio tower in their resurgence, disguising grunts as staff, but that's a shadow of the original curse. The shift symbolized progress over perpetual mourning, technology triumphing where bone clubs and exorcisms failed. Lavender's people moved forward, tuning into frequencies that drowned out the old wails, yet the original tower's echo never fully faded. And oh, that frequency, the Lavender Town syndrome, born from the Japanese red and green versions in 1996. Players reported headaches, dizziness, even fainting after prolonged exposure to the tower's theme. That oscillating sine wave piercing at 4 kHz, just high enough to unsettle young ears. Urban legends exploded, suicides in the town, hidden messages in the chiptune, a deliberate curse woven by Game Freak. They patched it in Blue and International releases, lowering the pitch, but the myth embedded itself in Kanto's cultural marrow. Pokémon fans worldwide dissected it, YouTube analyses peaking waveforms, forums debating subliminal hauntings. It amplified Lavender's lore, turning a game glitch into regional gospel. In Japan, it evoked yokai tales of Obon festivals and restless yurei, Kanto's real-world roots bleeding into pixels. Even in remakes like Fire Red and Leaf Green, the music haunts softer, but the tower's ghosts return. Marowak's Bone Club cracking anew. This frequency became Kanto's siren song, drawing lore hunters to question. Was it accident? Or did the developers embed a requiem for every Pokémon left behind in tall grass? Lavender Town endures as Kanto's emotional fulcrum, where your Pokédex beeps fainter. Victories taste bittersweet. The mother's sacrifice, the tower's fall, the static-laced rebirth, they weave mortality into the adventure's fabric, urging you to cherish every level up, every return to Professor Oak. But as you descend those final stairs, name badge glinting, Saffron's lights flicker on the horizon, promising a siege within a skyscraper stronghold that tests alliances like never before. In Chapter 8, the Silph Co's Siege, uncover how Team Rocket's boldest gambit turned a tech empire into a war zone, with hostages, warps, and a legendary showdown that could shatter Kanto's fragile peace. As the echoes of Lavender Town fade behind you, the path to Saffron City stretches out like a gauntlet, every step heavier with the weight of what you've just witnessed. That mother's ghost, bound to the tower by unbreakable grief, lingers in your mind. A reminder that Pokémon aren't just partners, they're family, torn apart by cruelty. But Saffron waits ahead, a gleaming metropolis at the heart of Kanto's corporate empire, its skyscrapers piercing the sky like monoliths of progress. Or so it seems, until you arrive and find the gates slammed shut, the streets patrolled by shadows in black uniforms. Celadon City isn't just any urban sprawl, it's the nerve centre of Kanto's economy, where Silph Co towers over everything. A 50-story behemoth of glass and steel humming with the future of Pokémon technology. Elevators whisk scientists between floors dedicated to Pokeball innovations and genetic research and prototypes that could rewrite battles forever. Team Rocket didn't stumble here by accident. Giovanni's grunt sealed off every road leading in. Route 8 from the east, the underground paths from the west, all choked with barriers and patrols. You fight your way through the fighting dojo first, where the karate master warns of the siege's scale. His voice low. Team Rocket's taken over Silph Co completely. No one's getting in or out. Pushing deeper, the city reveals its vulnerability. Corporate Kanto thrives on these towers, but they're soft targets, glass fortresses reliant on a single company's security. Silph Co employs hundreds, innovates the tools every trainer depends on, from great balls to ultra balls. Yet when Rocket strikes, it's chaos. Scientists cowering in labs, executives barricaded on upper floors, into the air thick with the scent of ozone from malfunctioning machinery. Grunts teleport in via warp panels, a network of glowing tiles that twist space itself, turning the building into a labyrinth of ambushes. You step onto one, and suddenly you're on floor 9, facing a rocket with Eradicate snarling at your heels. This is no petty theft. Team Rocket craves the Master Ball, hidden on the top floors, a sphere of absolute perfection with a capture rate that defies probability. 100% success, no fail, no escape. Imagine it in Giovanni's hands. Legendary Pokémon plucked from the wild like common Rattata, an army built overnight. The grunts boast about it in hushed tones as you eavesdrop between battles. One, cornered on floor 11, mutters to his partner, "The boss wants that Master Ball prototype. With it, I will catch anything at all." Another on the 17th floor, after you wrestle the lift key from a scientist's trembling hands, spills more. Silph Co is done for. Giovanni's going to use this tech to rule Kanto, then the world, Pokemarts, gyms, all of it under Rocket. You're no adult operative slipping in under cover of night. You're a child, 10 years old, maybe 12, thrust into this corporate war with a handful of Pokémon and a Pokédex from Professor Oak. The game casts you as the hero, but peel back the layers and it's a child soldier navigating a battlefield of hostages and heavy artillery. Executives plead from behind desks, "Help us! They've got the president trapped upstairs." You battle grunt after grunt, your Pikachu or Venusaur taking hits meant for grown men in suits. Floors blur together, research labs with bubbling vats of synthetic DNA, testing chambers where Pokeballs fail spectacularly against rampaging Pokémon. A hidden scientist on floor 23 whispers the truth. Rocket's not just here for the ball, they're scouting Silph's entire R&D, every blueprint, every formula. Kanto's tech edge is crumbling. Deeper still, the siege exposes fractures in the region's power structure. Saffron's Mr. Psychic senses the darkness early, urging you forward with telepathic nudges, but even he can't pierce the full occupation. Warp panels fling you to deadly matchups, a Hypno on one floor, a venomous Arbok on another, each grunt echoing the same fanaticism. Giovanni's vision is bigger than badges or leagues, one snarls as his matchup falls. Pokémon are tools for profit, and Silph's handing us the keys. You collect the card key next, hacking security doors to free more hostages, each grateful NPC dropping fragments of the bigger picture. A lab tech on floor 39 confides, "They've jammed the elevators permanently. Hundreds trapped. If you don't stop them, Silph Co becomes Rocket HQ." The climb peaks at the director's office, where Giovanni himself lounges amid the panic, his Persian eyeing you like prey. He monologues about conquest, the Master Ball as the crown jewel, perfect capture, meaning perfect control. Defeat him here, and the siege crumbles. Grunts scatter, scientists cheer, saffron exhales, but the damage lingers. Silph Co rebuilds, yes, but the vulnerability is etched into Kanto's corporate soul. One raid exposed how fragile it all is. A single tower holding the reins of innovation. It toppled by organised crime. That master ball you snag as reward, it dangles the temptation of godlike power, a one-shot wonder for Mewtwo or the birds, but in Rocket's grasp it promised domination. The occupation's hidden dialogues paint the true horror. Not a skirmish, but a declaration of war on Kanto's future. Grunts dreamed aloud of black market empires, Pokémon farms churning out slaves, gyms converted to training dens. You, the kid with the cap, stopped it. But at what cost to your innocence? As the dust settles in saffron streets, your badges glint with new purpose, pulling you toward the northern gates, where the real guardians await. In the next chapter, the Indigo Plateau gatekeepers uncover the silent sentinels who test not just strength, but the soul of every champion hopeful. With Team Rocket scattered from Silph Company, their master ball dreams shattered, you finally push northward, badges gleaming in your case toward the misty heights of the Indigo Plateau. But this isn't just any finish line. The gatekeepers here demand more than badges. They test the unbreakable core of a trainer's will. The Elite Four emerged in the shadowed aftermath of Kanto's early leagues, a quartet forged when the Indigo League formalized its ironclad trials around the turn of the era, sometime after the first Pokédex distributions from Pallet Town. Back then, the Kanto League wasn't a parade of easy victories. It was brutal, a gauntlet designed to cull the weak and etch legends into stone. Challengers had to navigate not just gyms, but a labyrinth of politics and peril, where losing meant exile from the spotlight for years. The plateau itself sits astride the border of Kanto and Johto, a colossal crater cradling the league's arena, its air thick with the roar of waterfalls plunging from unseen peaks. Only those who conquered 8 gyms could even glimpse its gates, and fewer still survived the Elite Four's unyielding assault. Lorelei stands as the first sentinel, her icy domain chilling the blood of even the most seasoned. Hailing from the remote Four Island in the Sevii chain, far south of the mainland, she was born amid crashing waves and perpetual frost, where the sea foam freezes into jagged spires. Legends whisper she tamed her first Lapras as a child, riding it through blizzards that claimed lesser souls. By her 20s, Lorelei had carved a path through the Orange League's fringes. He heard dugong slicing ships in mock battles that turned real when pirates tested her. She joined the Elite Four not for glory, but to guard Kanto's frozen secrets. Rumours persist of ancient ice types slumbering beneath Seafoam Islands, relics from a glacial age she alone understands. Facing her, you feel the plateau's winds turn to knives, her jinx weaving hypnotic spells that dredge up your deepest fears of isolation. Bruno awaits beyond, a mountain of muscle in the dim glow of his chamber, where sweat and stone dust hang heavy in the air. From the rugged highlands west of Kanto, perhaps the towering cliffs near Fuchsia, he rose as a Dojo wrestler turned Pokémon master. His body, a testament to endless training, under waterfalls that could crush boulders. Bruno shunned modern gyms for solitary dojos hidden in mist-shrouded valleys, battling wild onyx with bare fists until they bowed. His Poliwrath emerged from those trials, a juggernaut born of pain. He embodies the League's raw ferocity. No gadgets, no mercy, just the clash of wills. Challengers collapse here, not from Pokémon defeats, but from the sheer physical toll, echoing Bruno's creed that true strength blooms only after the body screams for surrender. Then comes Agatha, the ghost witch whose presence drains the colour from the walls. Rooted in Lavender Town's perpetual twilight, she was once a vibrant trainer chasing horizons with a young rival from Pallet. That rival? Professor Samuel Oak himself. Their story peels back the professor's polished facade. revealing a past drenched in ambition and loss. As boys, Oak and Agatha prowled Kanto's wilds together, capturing Gengar precursors in moonlit ruins, or dreaming of league domination. Oak's Ghastly evolved under her watchful eye during a storm-ravaged night in the Pokémon Tower's foundations. But where Agatha delved into the spectral arts, communing with spirits in forgotten mausoleums, Oak pivoted to academia after a crushing league defeat. He buried his battling fire under lab coats, yet Agatha never forgave the abandonment. Their rivalry soured into venom. She calls him out in battles, her haunter phasing through defences while mocking his cowardly research. Diaries from the tower hint Oak's wife passed young, perhaps fueling his retreat, but Agatha sees it as weakness. Facing her tests more than strategy, it unearths your own ghosts, her Arbok coiling around, regrets you thought buried. Lance crowns the quartet, the Dragon Lord astride his soaring Aerodactyl, his cape billowing like storm clouds. From the distant peaks of Johto's Blackthorn City, he crossed borders as a prodigy, taming Dragonite in volcanic lairs where lava rivers pulse like veins. Lance's lineage traces to ancient dragon tamers who sealed away rampaging beasts during Kanto's founding wars. He joined the Elite Four to unify fractured leagues, his Dragonair summoning tempests that reshaped the arena. But whispers linger of his disdain for weak champions. He eyes every challenger as a potential heir, his hyper beam a judgment from the gods. Surviving Lance means ascending as near divine, the plateau's throne within grasp. Yet before these titans, you must endure Victory Road, that serpentine underworld snaking through the plateau's roots. No mere tunnel, it's a spiritual forge, miles of pitch-black chasms where echoes mock your steps and rock slides bury the careless. Wild onyx burst from walls, testing reflexes honed across Kanto. The air grows stale, laced with mineral tang and the distant drip of unseen waters, forcing you to confront isolation's bite. Elder trainers speak of it as a rite beyond battles, a pilgrimage mirroring the soul's descent into shadow. Many quit here, badges intact, their spirits fractured by the endless dark. Those who emerge, scarred but resolute, find the Elite Four not as foes, but mirrors reflecting their forged resolve. As you claim the champion's mantle atop Indigo Plateau, sealing fates against Blue or whoever held it before, a quiet clock begins ticking. 3 years slip by in the shadows of legend, reshaping heroes into myths. What hidden currents pull at Kanto's seams during that silence? Join me next for Chapter 10, The 3-Year Gap, where the plateau's echoes give way to a timeline unravelling in ways you never suspected. Before we dive deeper into this incredible journey, I'm curious, where in the world are you watching this from? Drop a comment below and let our global community know. And if you're finding this as mind-blowing as I am, hit that like button to help more people discover this story. With the Indigo Plateau behind you, its champions scattered to their distant pursuits. Lorelei to icy seas, Bruno to disciplined dojos, Agatha to shadowed spires, and Lance to draconic heights. The true test of a Pokémon master's legacy isn't in the roar of victory, but in what time carves from the world you saved. 3 years drift by like mist over Viridian Forest, silent and unyielding, reshaping Kanto from the ground up. When you return, as the young heroes from Johto do in those golden days of sequel adventures, nothing feels quite the same. Kanto, that bustling cradle of your first triumphs, bears the scars of absence. Pallet Town slumbers unchanged. Professor Oak's lab still humming with Pokeballs and dreams, but step beyond its fences and the land whispers of upheaval. Routes that once teemed with Pidgey and Rattata now stand eerily barred, gates chained and signs weathered. Closed for maintenance, they read, though no workers linger. Route 19 southward from Fuchsia, the oceanic paths snaking towards Cinnabar, those sun-kissed waters where Tentacool bobbed like forgotten buoys, are sealed off, he waves crashing against invisible walls of official decree. Why? Whispers in Vermilion's port speak of treacherous currents, shifting seabeds, and storms that swallowed ships whole, but dig deeper into the ledgers of Saffron's traders. And you'll find the real rot, Kanto's lifeblood, its economy, bleeding dry. Johto rose in those years, a vibrant neighbour across the sea, its ports in olivine and mahogany drawing merchants like moths to flame. Kanto's factories in Celadon and Saffron sputtered, exports of Silph Co gadgets gathering dust, while Johto's markets overflowed with fresh berries from Route 34 and rare evolutions from Bill's storage wars. The shift was merciless. Trainers flocked westward for opportunity, leaving Kanto's paths to overgrow with Tangela vines and Eacon's coils. Even the S. St. Anne, that opulent liner docked eternally in Vermilion, vanished into legend, its gangplanks rotted away, a casualty of faded trade winds. Kanto turned inward, protective, its borders tightening like a graveler's grip. But the Earth's fury struck hardest at Cinnabar Island, that fiery jewel off the southern coast. You remember it vivid as a Charizard's blaze. Blaine's gym, a sweltering maze of puzzles and molten riddles, where the old man's moustache twitched with every lava flow. 3 years on, it's gone, swallowed by a volcanic cataclysm that shook the region to its core. Eruptions belched ash clouds that blanketed Pallet in twilight for weeks, rivers of magma cascading into the sea, hissing steam miles high. The island, once a thriving hub of fossil digs and hot springs, lies in ruins. Gym crumbled to blackened rubble. Our research labs buried under cooled obsidian. The Pokémon mansion, a haunted shell even in your time, now just a smouldering footnote. Blaine himself, that eternal tinkerer of flames, washed up on the Seafoam Islands, rebuilding his gym amid boulders and icy caverns, his riddles sharper, his arcanine fiercer, forged in displacement. Ecological echoes ripple everywhere. Cerulean Cave deepens its shadows. Mewtwo's lair untouched but wilder. Psychic pulses stirring the waters. Viridian Forest thickens. Bug catchers' nets abandoned to Venonat swarms. Lavender Town's tower, cleansed of restless spirits by your hand, repurposes into a radio beacon. Its bells silenced for broadcasts that carry Johto's news across the waves. The Safari Zone, Baoba's wild preserve in Fuchsia, shuts its gates forever. Pokémon scattered. The Warden fleeing to Johto's plains, leaving only echoes of bait and mud in what becomes much later a park for spectral wanderers. And the people? They age like wine in Oak's cellar, seasoned by trials unspoken. Your rival, Blue, that cocky shadow from Pallet, who claimed the championship throne before you wrested it away, steps into the void left by Giovanni. Viridian Gym, once the rocket boss's throne of Raiden and greed, hangs empty for years, its doors locked, until Blue claims it. No longer the brash kid with a pidgeot and a smirk, he's tempered, his team evolved. Alakazam gleaming with psychic might, Gyarados coiling like regret. He mans the badge, a new pillar amid the decay, challenging Johto's champions with eyes that hold 3 years of wandering. Misty's Cascade Gym flows on, but her sister's whims grow flightier. Brock's boulder badge endures, etched with quiet resolve. Lieutenant Surge powers Vermilion's lights alone, waiting for a stolen machine part to spark life anew. Even Giovanni lurks in shadows, his Silph scope ambitions crushed, but his empire's tendrils stretch toward Johto's underbelly. These shifts aren't mere backdrop. They're Kanto exhaling after the storm you quelled. Team Rocket's defeat left power vacuums, economies realigned toward the rising sun of Johto, and nature reclaimed what humanity overreached. Routes close not from laziness, but survival. Safer paths funnel trainers east, bolstering New Barktown's labs over Pallet's fading glory. Gym leaders adapt or fade, Blue rising as the bridge between eras, his Viridian tenure a nod to redemption's slow burn. Yet amid this transformed tapestry, one shadow looms eternal on the horizon, and untouched by time's erosion. High on Mount Silver's jagged throne, a silent figure awaits, his legacy etched in frost and legend. That's the enigma we'll unravel next in Chapter 11. The Mount Silver Hermit, where a champion's solitude hides secrets that could redefine everything you thought you knew. While Cinnabar Island lay in volcanic ashes during those 3 quiet years, the eyes of Kanto's new challengers turned northward, beyond the familiar horizons of Indigo Plateau, to a mountain that pierced the heavens like a frozen spear. Mount Silver, the tallest peak in the entire Pokémon world, stood as an impenetrable sentinel, its slopes cloaked in perpetual blizzards and swirling mists that swallowed sound itself. And there, high above the world he once conquered, waited the former champion, Red. The boy from Pallet Town who had toppled Team Rocket, claimed the throne, and then vanished without a trace. You know the story up to that point. Red, our silent hero through the grass-swept routes and neon-lit towers, collects his badges, storms the plateau, and dethrones his rival Blue in a clash that echoes through League history. Victory tastes sweet for a moment, badges gleaming, Pokédex complete. But instead of basking in parades or settling into the champion's suite, Red slips away. He leaves Pallet Town behind, his mother waiting at home with her endless questions about his travels, the professor's lab buzzing with data yet to analyse, the warmth of a life reclaimed. No farewell note, no public announcement, just the crunch of boots on fresh snow as he ascends Mount Silver alone, his Pokémon at his side, burrowing into a cave near the summit, where wind howls like a pack of Houndoom and the air bites sharp enough to numb ambition itself. Why? That's the question that haunts every trainer who hears the whispers. Theories swirl like the snowflakes around his perch. Some say Red sought purity in isolation, a forge to temper his team beyond the distractions of fame. After facing Mewtwo in the depths of Cerulean Cave, battling legends and outlaws alike, the ordinary world must have felt hollow, its gyms reduced to echoes of greater trials. Others whisper of a deeper weariness, the silent protagonist who never spoke a word in his saga, burdened by the weight of being Kanto's saviour. Champion's title? A chain he shed to reclaim his voice in silence, training in the cold where no crowds could demand his story. Leaving his mother tugs at the heart. Perhaps guilt from endless absences drove him higher, to a place where family ties fray in the frost, or maybe a prophecy unspoken pulled him there, guarding the peak as the ultimate gatekeeper between Kanto and Johto's rising heroes. Picture the ascent for those who dare it, years later. Ethan or Chris or Lyra, the Johto prodigies, fresh from their own league triumphs, cross into Kanto's remade gyms, faces weathered by Rocket's resurgence. Viridian's gym pulses anew under a reformed leader. Saffron's towers hum without siege, but Mount Silver calls as the final rite. The path winds treacherous, blizzards that blind, sheer cliffs veiled in fog, wild Pokémon prowling with primal fury, Alakazam psychics slicing the gale, Tyranitar earthquakes rumbling the stone. Higher you climb, oxygen thins, world shrinks to white void and echoing cries. And then the cave mouth yawns, black as an own script, and inside a flicker of firelight reveals him. Red, cloaked in shadow, his cap low, 6 Pokémon, arrayed like statues carved from ice. Pikachu at his heel, ever loyal. The starters evolve to pinnacles of power, a team honed to perfection, levels soaring past any elite. The battle unfolds in clouds that drift through the cavern, like restless spirits. No preamble, no taunts. Red's silence demands respect, his gaze steady as glacial melt. Snorlax blocks the entrance with seismic bulk, shaking the mountain's bones. Venusaur lashes vines through the mist, roots delving into frozen earth for hidden strength. Each command, unspoken yet precise, Pikachu's thunder cracking the air with ozone tang, Jolteon's pins needling like hailstorm barbs. The atmosphere thickens with tension, You feel the cold seep into your bones, hear the wind's mournful dirge between clashes, taste the metallic bite of hyperbeams glancing off cavern walls. Victory here isn't just badges, it's communion with the myth, proving yourself against the one who walked Kanto first. Now it's eternal Summit Warden. Red's exile transforms him from wide-eyed starter to the ultimate final boss, a symbol etched in Pokémon lore. The boy who said nothing becomes the mountain's voice, his presence a riddle. Is he trainer, monk, or ghost of triumphs past? Challengers descend changed, whispering of eyes that pierce souls, a team that anticipates every feint. He remains there through remakes and timelines, unyielding. In Heart Gold and Soul Silver, the climb feels eternal. Even echoes in later worlds nod to his vigil. Yet questions linger. Does he ever descend? Watch Pallet for signs? Or has the peak claimed him fully? Mother forgotten in the endless white. That isolation on Mount. Silver echoes other Kanto mysteries, like the sudden shuttering of a once thriving preserve, teeming with rare captures. Up next in Chapter 12, the Safari Zone's closure, uncover why its gates locked forever, and what vanished beasts still haunt those overgrown paths. While Red vanished into the icy solitude of Mount Silver, leaving Kanto's champions to chase echoes of his legend, another cornerstone of the region crumbled quietly in the humid outskirts of Fuchsia City. The Safari Zone, that sprawling sanctuary Warden Baoba had carved from the wilds, shut its gates forever, its once vibrant grasslands reduced to a barren scar on the map. Baoba wasn't always the grizzled warden barking orders from his gatehouse. He arrived in Kanto decades before Red's badge quest, a visionary with a dream as big as the herds he hoped to protect. Picture him trudging through Fuchsia's misty marshes, notebook in hand, sketching plans for a haven where trainers could glimpse Pokémon, too elusive for open routes. No Pokéballs here, just safari balls, bait to lure them close, and mudslinging rocks to stun them for capture. Baoba pitched it as conservation gold, a controlled space to study rarities, educate visitors, and fund preservation. Trainers paid entry fees, wandered 30 acres of themed habitats, savanna plains dotted with acacia-like trees, rocky outcrops hiding Pinsir, and watery ponds rippling with Magikarp schools. Baoba's empire bloomed. Word spread from Pallet Town to the Indigo Plateau. Even Professor Oak sent aides to catalogue species unseen elsewhere in Kanto. You could feel the pulse of it on a good day, the air thick with the earthy tang of fresh dung from roaming Tauros packs, their thunderous hooves shaking the ground as they charged across golden fields. Exotic calls pierced the humidity, Scyther's sharp whir from tall grasses, Kangaskhan's low grunts echoing from shaded groves where mothers cradled joeys. Deeper in, Dratini twisted through lily-choked streams, their scales catching sunlight like living jewels. Baoba stocked it meticulously, importing clusters from distant lands. 40 wild Tauros in one herd alone, Venona fluttering in nocturnal swarms, Execute rolling like tumbleweeds underfoot. Trainers emerged flushed with triumph, the safari balls bulging with prizes no gym battle could yield. Baoba's ledgers swelled. He expanded the gates, hired wardens, even built rest areas serving chilled leper berry drinks to weary hunters. For a time, it was Kanto's jewel, a bridge between wild freedom and trainer ambition. But ambition has claws. As Red dismantled Team Rocket and claimed his title, trainers poured in by the thousands, their Pokédexes hungry for completion. The zone wasn't infinite. Baoba's herds thinned year by year. Tauros, once a stampeding sea, dwindled to stragglers. You'd wait hours by bait piles only to snag a common Nidoran. Kangaskhan vanished from the outer paths, their protective instincts driving them deeper into seclusion or into safari balls. Dratini sightings became whispers, traded like ghost stories at the gatehouse. An over-capturing ravaged the balance. Predators like Rhyhorn stripped vegetation bare without enough graze to sustain them. ponds silted up from trampling feet and fleeing schools. Invasive captures disrupted breeding. Gold teeth hidden in bushes hinted at hoarded treasures. But the real cost was ecological collapse. Paras clung to every log, unchecked without natural competitors. The air grew stale, the calls sparse. What started as a sanctuary turned predator den, trainers stripping it like a conquered gym. Bioba watched it unfold from his perch. He enforced rules, no battling, no switches, but human greed found loopholes. Some baited endlessly, others flung rocks with precision, born of Elite Four trials. Reports trickled in, empty zones, Pokémon fleeing to Future's untamed edges. Bioba tried restocking, but shipments from abroad couldn't match the drain. By the time Gold and Silver's heroes roamed Johto 3 years later, Kanto's Safari Zone was a husk. Grasses withered to dust bowls. Ponds evaporated to cracked mud. The silence broken only by wind hissing through abandoned safari ball dispensers. Bioba, heartbroken, shuttered it all. He packed his vision and headed west to Johto, rebuilding in Cianwood's cliffs as the national park, a slimmer operation, wiser limits. Back in Kanto, the wasteland lingered, warped into Pal Park, a gated relic importing Pokémon from afar, its original wild hearts long gone. Yet ghosts remained. Trainers whispered of the secret house, tucked in the zone's northeast corner like a forgotten shrine. No signs marked it, just a weathered cabin amid overgrown thickets, its door ajar to anyone patient enough to roam. Inside, shelves groaned under rarities. HM Surf, essential for water paths untouched by gym rewards, Warden's rare candies boosting levels in a pinch. Even that elusive gold teeth traded for a Snorlax blocking sour apple. But the true mystery? How it stayed stocked amid the depletion. Some swore Bioba hid stashes there post-closure, a final gift to devoted hunters. Others spun tales of Pokémon guardians, Chansey depositing eggs by moonlight, or Ditto mimicking prizes. Poke around today in remakes like Fire Red, and it yields treasures still, as if the zone's spirit clings, rewarding those who respect its ruins. That environmental toll echoes through Kanto's scars. Confine rarities, invite exploitation. Bioba's fall proved it. His empire rose on wonder, crashed on overuse, leaving a lesson etched in empty fields. As Fuchsia's winds carry faint Tauros bellows from afar, you wonder what other Kanto havens met quiet ends. And speaking of places left to rot in eerie abandonment, just wait until you hear about Chapter 13, the power plant's abandonment, where electric ghosts still flicker in the shadows of a forgotten grid. As the dust settled over the Safari Zone's overgrown enclosures, with Warden Bioba long gone to Johto and his once thriving venture reduced to a forgotten wasteland, Kanto's gaze turned eastward, to another monument of human hubris left to rot. The power plant, perched on the craggy outskirts of Route 10, hummed faintly in the salt-laced winds blowing in from the sea. Its massive, cooling towers cracked like the spines of some colossal fallen beast. This sprawling complex of steel and concrete once thrummed as the beating heart of Kanto's industrial might, churning out torrents of electricity to light the neon veins of Saffron City. Picture the scene in those boom years. Conveyor belts groaning under the weight of coal shipments from distant mines, massive generators roaring like awakened onyx, their vibrations shaking the ground for miles. Saffron, that gleaming jewel of modernization, with its towering Silph Co headquarters and labyrinthine underground networks, owed its very pulse to this place. Every flickering screen in the copycat's theatre, every whirring elevator in the fighting dojo, every late-night experiment in the psychic labs drew power from these forsaken halls. The plant's high-voltage lines snaked across the region like arteries, fueling a tech renaissance that turned sleepy towns into hubs of innovation, all while the shadows of Viridian Forest crept closer. But that golden era shattered in the wake of the Rocket incident. Team Rocket, under Giovanni's iron fist, didn't just steal Pokémon for their black market auctions. They infiltrated the veins of Kanto's infrastructure. Whispers among the old engineers speak of sabotage during the Silph Company siege, when rocket operatives slipped past security to tamper with the core reactors, siphoning experimental fusion tech for their own twisted devices. The official story pinned the shutdown on a catastrophic overload, sparks leaping like wild Zapdos bolts across the control room, frying circuits and buckling support beams. In truth, Giovanni's defeat at the hands of a young trainer from Pallet Town sent ripples through the energy sector. With their boss exposed and disbanded, Rocket's web of corrupt suppliers and bribed officials unravelled. Coal deliveries halted, maintenance crews vanished into hiding, and the once mighty generators sputtered to silence. By the time Red claimed his Indigo League title, the power plant stood abandoned, its gates chained, weeds clawing through the cracked asphalt as Kanto's industrial backbone crumbled into decay. Venturing inside today feels like stepping into a tomb electrified for eternity. Rusted catwalks groan underfoot, dangling precariously over pits of oily water that reflect the sporadic blue flashes from exposed wires. The air tastes metallic, thick with the ozone tang of perpetual storms, and a low buzz vibrates in your bones, urging every electric-type Pokémon for leagues around to claim this domain as their own. Scattered across the debris-strewn floors lie what appear to be discarded Pokéballs, glinting innocently in the dim glow of emergency lights. But reach for one, and it rolls away with eerie autonomy, its surface rippling before exploding into the frenzied Voltorb beneath. These mimics aren't mere pests, they're guardians of the ruins, programmed by nature or forgotten experiments to detonate on contact, their blasts echoing through the corridors like thunderclaps. Deeper still, clusters of electrode hover silently, ballooning silently before hurtling toward intruders in kamikaze fury, their internal charges amplified by the plant's lingering magnetic fields. Trainers who've braved these halls recount narrow escapes, Pokéballs fusing to belts in the chaos, a deadly game where curiosity could end your journey in a shower of shrapnel. Amid this hazardous labyrinth dwells the true sovereign of the storm, Zapdos, the electric-type legendary bird, whose plumage crackles with raw plasma. Why would a primal force of nature, born from thunderheads and tempests, forsake the open skies to nest in this man-made mausoleum? The answer lies in the plant's spectral energy signature. Even in abandonment, the facility pulses with geomagnetic anomalies, leaking reactors simulating the fury of lightning strikes, transformers humming at frequencies that mimic migratory storm patterns. Zapdos, attuned to the world's electrical currents like a living barometer, was inexorably drawn here during the shutdown's chaos. As the rocket sabotage peaked, a massive surge ripped through the grid, birthing aurora-like displays visible from Saffron's rooftops. The legendary descended that night, wings slicing the darkness, claiming the central turbine chamber as its throne. Here, amid coils that once harnessed lightning, it broods, its cries reverberating like generator startups, sustaining the ecosystem of Voltorb and Magnemite that now infest the site. Some loremasters speculate Zapdos senses a deeper resonance, perhaps echoes of Mewtwo's creation or Porygon's digital birth in nearby labs, drawn to the fusion of organic fury and mechanical hubris. This abandonment marked more than a local tragedy. It signalled the twilight of Kanto's energy monopoly. Saffron pivoted to experimental solar arrays and psychic amplifiers, Silph Co, engineers scavenging power plant scraps for their master ball prototypes, yet the plant endures as a cautionary spectre, its decay intertwined with Rocket's fall, powering no cities but birthing legends in the gloom. Trainers who challenge Zapdos emerge forever changed, clutching TM-24 Thunderbolt as a trophy from the storm's core. And while the power plant crackles with untamed voltage, far across the waves lies the Seafoam Island labyrinth, where frozen secrets chill even the boldest explorer to the marrow, stick around after the break to uncover its watery enigmas. While Zapdos nested amid the skeletal remains of Kanto's forgotten power grids, another legendary guardian turned its gaze to the relentless sea, carving out a domain in the frozen labyrinth of Seafoam Islands. These scattered jewels of ice and stone rise like jagged teeth from the ocean swells, standing sentinel between the scorched shores of Cinnabar and the teeming mainland ports around Fuchsia City. You can almost feel the chill seeping through your screen as you picture them. Towering basalt pillars, wreathed in perpetual mist, their surfaces slick with frost, even under Kanto's tropical sun. Strong currents rage between the islands, whirlpools that have claimed countless ships over centuries, twisting vessels into the abyss before they can bridge the gap to Cinnabar's volcanic glow. Sailors whisper that these waters are alive, pulsing with an ancient fury that guards the island's secrets, ensuring no easy passage disrupts the fragile balance between mainland ambition and the wild heart of the southern seas. Those currents aren't mere hazards. They're the island's first line of defense, a natural fortress forged by eons of tidal fury. In Kanto's fractured geography, sea foam forms an impenetrable moat, isolating Cinnabar's geothermal wonders from the relentless push of human expansion. Think of the routes you've charted on your maps. The sinuous path from Fuchsia demands you skirt these perils, dodging surges that could hurl a Lapras off course or swallow a trainer whole. Historians mark this barrier as key to Cinnabar's survival during the Great Eruption 3 years after Red's triumph, when ash clouds choked the skies and lava flows reshaped the horizon. The islands deflected the worst of the debris-laden waves, their whirlpools churning the onslaught into harmless froth, preserving what little remained of the gym leader's fiery domain. In deeper lore reveals why these isles brewed in such splendid isolation. Cut off from Kanto's bustling trade winds, Seafoam has birthed legends that echo through Pallet Town taverns and Cerulean libraries alike. Ancient Kantonians spoke of them as the Shattered Crown, remnants of a colossal bird god that plummeted from the stars, splintering into 4 peaks upon impact. Fisherfolk from Vermilion passed down tales of ethereal cries piercing the fog at midnight, luring the unwary into the depths where spectral shapes danced on ice floes. These stories weren't idle fancy. They wove into Kanto's oldest folklore, predating even the Indigo League's founding. Elders claimed the islands housed the breath of winter itself, a force that balanced the region's fiery excesses. Viridian's emerald blaze, Cinnabar's molten rage. In scrolls unearthed from Rock Tunnel, you'll find etchings of robed figures braving the straits, offering sapphire beads to appease the currents, lest the sea reclaim the mainland's edge. Venturing inside transforms peril into poetry. The caves yawn wide at sea level, their mouths framed by barnacle-crusted arches where waves crash in rhythmic thunder. Step beyond, and the air turns knife-sharp, humidity freezing into crystalline veils that drape the walls like forgotten banners. Echoes of dripping water amplify into haunting symphonies, guiding you, or misleading you, through twisting galleries veined with luminous quartz. But the true trial lies below, where the labyrinth unfolds in layers of submerged peril. Those infamous currents dominate the underbelly, vast aquifers surging through horizontal shafts like the arteries of some colossal leviathan. One wrong step, and you're swept into the flow, tumbling through lightless tunnels until you spill into a distant chamber, disoriented and shivering. Trainers learn this the hard way. Red himself navigated these in his badge quest, pushing against the pull to reclaim the Silph scope, stolen by Team Rocket grunts lurking in the upper ledges. The water glows faintly with bioluminescent plankton, casting ghostly blues that reveal schools of seal darting like silver arrows, their evolutions guarding the flooded halls. To conquer the maze, you summon strength, not just the HM's raw power, but the grit forged in prior trials. Massive boulders, etched with glacial scars, block the paths, demanding you shove them into precise sinkholes. Each one requires timing the currents, bracing against the icy blast as your Pokémon strains. Muscles coiling like steel cables. Fail, and the rock tumbles back. The surge claiming your progress. Succeed, and a waterfall seals off, revealing stairs to the frozen core. This puzzle isn't arbitrary cruelty. It's Kanto's subtle allegory for a trainer's evolution. Just as Red hauled those stones to still the chaos, so must you redirect your own tempests. Doubts from Brock's boulders, fears from Misty's cascades, the raw force of Giovanni's empire. Each push mirrors the badge grind. Initial resistance yields to momentum. Isolation breeds resolve, and the depths reward only the persistent. Folklore amplifies this, with bards likening the boulders to the burdens of ancient heroes, cast into voids to summon the frost phoenix from slumber. At the nadir, where breath fogs and bones ache, resides Articuno, the freeze that tames oceans. Perched on a throne of eternal ice, its plumage shimmers like fractured sapphires. Wings unfurled to stir blizzards that have flash-frozen entire caverns. Why here, amid the roar of currents it could silence with a flap? Legends posit it's the counterweight to Moltres Inferno on Cinnabar, Zapdos Storm on the power plant ruins. Articuno chose Seafoam for its primal purity. No human taint, just raw elemental strife mirroring its essence. Capturing it demands harmony with the labyrinth's rhythm. Disrupt the boulders anew, and the bird vanishes into the glacial heart, leaving only echoes of its piercing cry. Even post-Genesis events, Seafoam endures as Kanto's untouched enigma. 3 years on, when Johto's winds carried whispers of Rocket's resurgence, the islands remained a no-man's land, their barriers thwarting spies bound for Cinnabar's reborn labs. In the Let's Go chronicles, aspirants like Chase skirted the edges, heeding the folklore's warnings, while the main saga's silent champions tested their mettle in solitude. Baoba's safari ghosts might haunt fuchsia, but here, nature's puzzles persist, unbowed by time or eruption. As you emerge from those depths, badges heavier with legend. The mainland beckons through Victory Road's forgotten history, a gauntlet of cave shadows and spectral echoes that buried countless dreams before the League's light. What buried trials await in those depths, and whose ghosts still prowl its uncharted bends? Beyond the relentless currents of Seafoam Islands that shield Cinnabar's volcanic shores, the rugged trail northward climbs relentlessly, drawing only the most resolute trainers toward a colossal fissure carved into the mountainside. This is Victory Road, a labyrinthine cavern that has loomed as the ultimate threshold to the Indigo League since the earliest days of Kanto's recorded challenges. Step inside, and the world above fades to an echoing void, where dripping stalactites whisper secrets of ages long buried. Towering statues line the initial chambers, their weathered faces frozen in stoic vigil, carved from the living rock with a precision that defies the crude tools of modern masons. These aren't mere decorations slapped onto a cave for show. They're remnants of an ancient order, perhaps the precursors to the Pokémon League itself. Guardians etched by hands that revered the bond between human and Pokémon as something divine. Scholars pore over faded Pokédex entries and glitch-hunting forums, debating their origins. Do they depict long-forgotten champions, their eyes hollowed to stare into the souls of intruders? Or are they tributes to the legendary birds, wings flared in eternal flight, feathers stylized into jagged flames and icy barbs? The stone bears no inscriptions, only faint runes that glow faintly under rare flash pulses, hinting at rituals performed here millennia ago, when Victory Road served not as a trainer's trial, but as a sacred pilgrimage route. Deeper in, the ruins unfold like a forgotten temple complex, collapsed arches, bridging chasms and vine-choked altars, half sunk into subterranean pools. Echoes of pickaxes and dynamite blasts from Kanto's mining booms have scarred these halls, but peel back the layers and you'll sense the deliberate artistry, an underground acropolis built to harmonize with the earth's fury. Walls etched with bas-reliefs depict trainers of yore wrestling behemoths amid thunderous skies, their Pokémon rearing in synchronized fury, suggesting this cave was once a colosseum for proving worthiness before any badges existed. Why bury such grandeur beneath the plateau? Some theorize it predates Professor Oak's era, a holdover from when Kanto's warlords settled disputes not with words, but with battles that shook the foundations, the ruins standing as tombstones to those who fell short. Pushing onward demands more than strength. It exacts a toll on the spirit, through puzzles engineered with sadistic ingenuity to grind down even the hardiest souls. Massive boulders, immovable, without a Pokémon's raw power via strength, must be shunted across precarious ledges, only to block your retreat and force impossible detours. Hidden switches lurk in shadows, teeming with Zubats and Golbats, their supersonic shrieks disorienting you in pitch blackness, until Hyper Beam blasts carve fleeting paths. Narrow bridges crumble underfoot, plunging the unwary into abyssal drops where echoes mock your screams for what feels like eternity. Trainers emerge hollow-eyed, their teams battered, spirits frayed. This isn't random wilderness. It's a gauntlet calibrated to cull the weak, mirroring the league's ethos that only the unbreakable deserve the champion's mantle. In those grueling hours, doubt creeps in. Is this road victory's promise, or a graveyard for dreams? At the heart of this ordeal once dwelled a fiery sovereign, Moltres, the blaze Pokémon, nesting amid the deepest embers where geothermal vents spewed sulphurous heat. In the original red, blue and yellow adventures, you'd stumble upon its lair after navigating the labyrinth's nadir, flames licking the cavern walls as it burst forth in a whirlwind of molten wings, challenging you to prove your mettle before the Elite Four. But in the Fire Red and Leaf Green remakes, that encounter vanished. Moltres relocated to the smouldering peak of Mount Ember on one island in the Sevii chain. Why the shift? Game Freak sought to expand Kanto's horizons, weaving the Sevii Islands into the post-game tapestry as a reward for badge-earning veterans, transforming Moltres from a pre-league gatekeeper into a tropical Odyssey's prize. This move preserved Victory Road's punishing purity, no distractions from legendaries, while hinting at deeper lore. Perhaps Moltres migrated naturally, drawn by seismic rumbles from Cinnabar's eruption, or ancient pacts relocated it to safeguard the League's sanctity. Whispers persist of data miners uncovering vestigial code, ghosts of that original flame haunting the cave's files. As the final switch clicks and the exit beckons, the air thickens with incense and polished marbles gleam, the raw ferocity of rock and shadow yielding to the opulent embrace of Indigo Plateau. Sunlight shafts pierce the threshold, illuminating vaulted ceilings adorned with championship banners, fluttering like captured souls. Here, the natural world's brutal forge transitions seamlessly into the League's gilded sanctum. Carpeted corridors lined with trophy cases, the air humming with the distant roar of crowds long faded. You've shed the cave's grime, emerging reborn, badges polished, ready for Lorelei's chill gaze, Bruno's iron fists, Agatha's spectral whispers, Lance's draconic fury. Victory Road wasn't just a tunnel, it was alchemy, transmuting wanderers into warriors. Yet amid these triumphs, shadows of personal battles linger, none more defining than the rivalry that propelled one young trainer to the throne itself. Tune in next for Chapter 16. The Blue Rivalry, where we'll unravel the fierce duel that crowned Kanto's first modern champion and forever altered the League's legacy. As you claw your way out of Victory Road's crumbling ruins, the weight of those ancient statues still lingering in your mind, the path ahead clears to the Indigo Plateau, where the true pinnacle of Kanto's dreams awaits. But before you can even catch your breath, Word spreads like wildfire through the trainers' camps. Your rival, Blue, has already stormed the Elite Four, toppling them one by one in a blaze of calculated fury. He's done it. He's the champion now, strutting through the Hall of Fame as if the title was forged just for him. Yet in that moment of glory, a deeper shadow falls over his triumph, one born from the very start of his journey in sleepy little Pallet Town. Blue wasn't always the cocky prodigy taunting you at every route. Picture him there, on that grassy hill, grandson of Professor Oak, the man who handed you both your first Pokémon with that grandfatherly smile. Oak gives you the choice: Bulbasaur, Charmander, Squirtle, and Blue, ever the opportunist, snatches the one that counters yours perfectly. It's no accident. From that instant, every step he takes reeks of desperation, a burning need to prove he's not just riding on his grandpa's coattails. Oak's lab, filled with the hum of Pokédexes and the scent of fresh meadow grass clippings, becomes both his cradle and his cage. Blue overhears the professor praising your potential, your fresh start without the family name, weighing you down. That stings deeper than any hyper beam. He challenges you right there in Pallet, his starter already pulsing with that smug energy. But beneath the bravado, you sense it. The ache for Oak's nod of approval, the words, "I'm proud of you, grandson," that never quite come. He races ahead, badge after badge, turning every gym into a personal conquest. Brock's Onyx crumbles under his Pidgeot's wings. Misty's Starmie shatters against his Growlithe's flames. But it's not just about the pins on his jacket. It's about outshining you, the nobody from next door, to finally earn that validation from the one man whose opinion defines him. Viridian Forest's shadows swallow his Rattata whole at first, but he evolves it relentlessly, pushing through Cerulean Cave's outskirts and rock tunnels echoing drips, always one step ahead, or so he tells himself. His team grows ruthless, a Persian that slices like a razor, an Arcanine that scorches the earth, all tools in his quest to stand taller in Oak's eyes. Yet every time you catch up, his taunts sharpen. You're still lagging behind, punk, masking the fear that you'll eclipse him forever. That desperation boils over on the SS Anne, that gleaming ocean liner cutting through Kanto's salty waves, its decks alive with the chatter of elite trainers and the clink of champagne glasses. You've boarded for the captain's badge, but Blue corners you amid the sway of the ship, the sea spray misting your face as thunder rumbles distant. This isn't just another skirmish, it's the emotional heart of your rivalry, stakes higher than the Pokémon Tower's ghosts. He unleashes his team, but look closer at that Raticate. Gnashing fangs, purple fur matted from countless battles. Why a Raticate? It's no powerhouse for a ship this lavish. Theory swirls among lore-keepers that it's no random pick. Rattata, common as dirt on Route 1, right after Pallet Town, Blue's first wild catch perhaps, a scrappy survivor he refused to abandon, evolving it not for strength but sentiment, a tie to his roots before the pressure of Oak's legacy crushed him. Or darker still, some whisper it's a shadow of Giovanni's own. Raticate from Team Rocket whispers, but no, the emotional gut punch lands here, as Raticate hyperfangs through your lineup, Blue's eyes flashing with that mix of glee and gnawing hunger. He wins this round, mocks your seasick stumble, but as the ship lists and you puke over the railing, you see the crack. He's fighting ghosts of doubt, pouring his soul into every command, all for a grandpa who studies Mew's clones more than his own blood. Fast forward through the leagues of SS Anne's aftermath, past Silph Co's corporate ruins, reclaimed from rocket grunts, and Blue surges to the Indigo Plateau first. The crowd roars as he emerges from the champion's door, the cape billowing, his team scarred but unbreakable. Loretta, Bruno, Agatha, Lance, they all fall. The announcer's voice booms, Blue, the new champion of the Indigo League. Confetti rains like stardust, flashes from Pallet Town headlines, already printing his name. Oak must be watching from his lab, right? Pride swelling at last. But then you arrive, fresh from Victory Road's trials, your team forged in Kanto's fires. The doors seal behind you both. Minutes tick, barely 5 some say, in that opulent chamber with its trophy cases gleaming under torchlight. Blue grins, launches into his speech about being the strongest, but his voice wavers just a hair. Your Pokémon clash. His Alakazam psychics your lineup. Venusaur vines whipping wildly, but you counter, strike, overwhelm. One by one they faint, Pidgeot plummeting, Raiden shattering. The final blow lands, and silence crashes in. Blue's eyes widen, the champion's cape suddenly too heavy. He's dethroned before the ink dries on his victory. The tragedy sinks in like Cerulean Cave's depths. All that validation, snatched away in heartbeats, leaving him hollow, staring at the floor as you etch your name eternal. Yet Kanto's lore doesn't abandon its fallen stars. 3 years drift by, Team Rocket's remnants scattered by Johto winds. Giovanni vanished into shadows. Viridian Gym stands empty, its earthy arena overgrown with weeds. Giovanni's throne cold. Enter Blue, humbled, resolute. He steps up as leader, badges gleaming not from conquest but stewardship. No more chasing phantoms. Now he trains Viridian's wilds, his team refined, Porygon Z glitching strategies, Gyarados coiling like regret reborn. Trainers whisper of his battles, fair, fierce, a far cry from the punk who mocked seasides. Oak's validation. It comes quiet, in a lab visit perhaps, a shared Pokédex scan, under pallet stars. Blue's arc redeems in the dirt of that gym, turning rivalry's ashes to leadership's forge, proving strength isn't just titles, but endurance. This rivalry's echoes ripple far beyond Indigo's peaks, hinting at Kanto's hidden extensions lurking offshore. Stay with me as we sail into Chapter 17, the Sevii Islands expansion, where volcanic secrets and forgotten voyages redefine the region's edges in ways that will keep your dreams alight. As Red claimed his title from Blue on that fateful day at the Indigo Plateau, the horizon seemed to whisper of unfinished adventures, drawing his eyes southward across the churning Kanto seas. There, he shrouded in perpetual mist and battered by relentless trade winds, lay the Sevii Islands, an enigmatic chain of 7 volcanic isles that had long served as Kanto's silent guardians. These weren't just scattered rocks in the ocean. They formed a natural bridge, a water corridor linking the rugged coasts of Kanto to the distant shores of Johto, where the currents carried whispers of new legends waiting to unfold. Picture the salty spray stinging your face as you board the ferry from Vermilion City's weathered docks, the engines rumbling low like a sleeping Lapras. The first island, Kinno, greets you with sun-baked beaches and humble fishing villages, where locals speak in hushed tones of ancient voyages that once ferried traders between these regions. But push deeper, past one island's sleepy Pokémon Center, perched on a cliffside, and the archipelago reveals its true purpose. In the game's Fire Red and Leaf Green, this expansion unlocks only after you've conquered the Elite Four, a post-game reward that pulls you into a web of intrigue tying Kanto's fate to Johto's emerging shadows. The Sevii chain acts as a lore conduit, its position on the world map funneling maritime paths that explain how Kanto trainers like Red could one day drift toward Goldenrod's bustling ports, carrying tales of badges and beasts across the divide. Venturing to Two Island, the air thickens with the scent of tropical blooms from Cape Brink, where a hidden cove hides more than just sunning Slowbro. Here the island's bridging roll sharpens. Ancient mariners navigated these straits using star charts etched into basalt cliffs, marking the shortest route from Cinnabar's fiery glow to Johto's misty peaks. It's no coincidence that Baoba, the Safari Zone warden from our earlier tales, relocated his operation northward after Kanto's zone fell barren. Whispers suggest he scouted these isles first, eyeing their untamed wilds as a potential haven before Johto called. The Sevii waters teem with migratory Pokémon schools, Corsola reefs linking Kanto's coral gardens to Johto's Whirl Islands, forging an ecological bond that mirrors the human histories entwined here. Yet the true heart of the Sevii secrets pulses on Five Island amid the Tanabe ruins, crumbling stone chambers half submerged in turquoise lagoons, their walls etched with glyphs that predate even Mr. Fuji's Mew hunts. Legend speaks of these ruins as a nexus for otherworldly energies, in where the veil between dimensions thins, fishermen swear by tales passed down generations, ethereal forms dancing in the shallows at dusk, unknown letters flickering like bioluminescent plankton. In fire red and leaf green, you puzzle through the Tanabe chambers, aligning mysterious patterns to summon clusters of these psychic enigmas, proving their presence in Kanto's domain long before Johto's Cerulean ruins claimed fame. These aren't mere pests. The unknown embody forgotten scripts, their shapes hinting at a primordial language that once bound the archipelago to ancient cataclysms, currents carrying their eggs from distant shores to nest in Kanto's hidden coves. The ruins myth deepens when you consider the fog-shrouded Tanabe Key, where aligning the chambers unlocks a torrent of unknown, over 24 forms swirling in a hypnotic storm, their cries echoing like wind through seashells. Why here, in these overlooked waters? Scholars posit the Sevii's geothermal vents create psychic resonances, drawing the unknown as moths to flame, a subtle nod to Kanto, harbouring Hoenn's arcane relics centuries before official contact. This presence challenges the isolation of regions, suggesting Kanto's seas have always been a crossroads for the arcane, bridging not just lands but realities. But shadows gather amid this mystique. As you chart the island's underbelly, Team Rocket re-emerges, not scattered grunts, but a desperate cadre plotting their final gambit. Their stronghold hides in the belly of Five Islands' lost cave, a labyrinth of echoing drips and bioluminescent fungi leading to a fortified warehouse on Six Island. There, under the cover of humming generators and flickering fluorescent lights, they hoard a prize that shatters regional boundaries. The ruby and sapphire gems, unearthed from the depths of Icefall Cave and Mount. Ember, these aren't ordinary baubles. Discovered by Celio, the reclusive Pokémon Center operator on one island battling a terminal illness, the gems pulse with primal energies, crimson, fire from ruby, sapphire chill from its twin. Celio's scans reveal their origin, fragments from Hoenn's legendary orbs, washed ashore by cataclysmic storms that once ravaged that distant land. In a twist that binds Kanto to Hoenn's lore, inserting the gems into his machine stabilizes a dimensional rift, allowing trades between regions and hinting at the weather trio's influence. Groudon and Kyogre's ancient clash, sending these artifacts adrift across the Pokémon world's vast oceans. Team Rocket, ever opportunistic, seizes the gems to power a machine that would sever Kanto from the world, isolating it for their monopoly on rare Pokémon. You infiltrate the warehouse on Six Island, the air heavy with ozone and the clatter of conveyor belts shuffling stolen beasts into cryopods. Grunt spark orders amid sparking consoles, their admin archer overseeing the fusion ritual. The gems glow, casting elongated shadows like spectres of Giovanni's fallen empire. The showdown erupts in a blaze of Ultra Balls and Thunderbolts, your team dismantling their defences crate by crate until the mastermind falls. The warehouse erupting in alarms as the gems shatter free. This marks Team Rocket's last stand in Kanto proper. Their Sevii defeat scatters the remnants, priming their botched revival in Johto 3 years hence. With the warehouse reduced to smouldering ruins, Celio recovers, his network humming anew, and the islands reclaim their quiet vigil. Red returns to the mainland, forever changed. The gems light etching Hoenn's silhouette onto Kanto's map, a prelude to voyages yet undreamt. As the ferry cuts back through the swells, the Sevii's waves seem to murmur of greater fractures in the Pokémon tapestry. Realms where timelines splinter and champions walk parallel paths. That unravelling awaits, in Chapter 18, the Multiverse Divergence, where Kanto's history splinters into infinities you'll never see coming. It's those ruby and sapphire gems unearthed in the Sevii Islands didn't just whisper connections to distant Hoenn, they hinted at something far stranger about Kanto itself. What if the region you thought you knew, the one carved by Red's triumphs, was only one thread in a vast tapestry of diverging realities? Consider the Let's Go timeline, a serene echo where a young trainer named Chase steps into the spotlight that Red once claimed. Here Kanto unfolds, without the chaos of relentless wild encounters, no frantic Pokeballs hurled into the underbrush at every rustle of grass. You wander routes lined with Pokémon that approach on their own terms, friendly shadows emerging from the mist rather than lunging from the tall grass. It's a Kanto bathed in golden hour light, where the air feels lighter, the paths safer, as if the land itself has exhaled after centuries of tension. This shift paints a profoundly peaceful realm. Feel the absence of those brutal skirmishes that defined the original journeys. In the classic era, every forest edge, every seaside trail buzzed with peril, wild Pokémon defending their territories with fangs and flames. But in Let's Go, that primal hostility fades. Chase collects badges under Professor Oak's watchful eye, just as before, yet Team Rocket's shadow still creeps through Saffron's gleaming towers and the dim warehouses of Celadon. Giovanni's empire crumbles not amid the roar of battles, but through clever infiltrations and heartfelt Pokémon bonds. Chase confronts the Rocket Boss in the depths of Silph Company, Pikachu or Eevee at their side, scattering the grunts without a single random clash disrupting the flow. It's Kanto as a harmonious haven, where humans and Pokémon coexist more like companions on a stroll than warriors in an endless war. This peace ripples outward, suggesting a world where Mewtwo's rage never fully ignited, or where the cloning labs in Cinnabar simmered down before catastrophe. Yet Red doesn't vanish entirely. He lingers as a legend, absent from the immediate fray, but etched into the region's memory. Chase claims the Indigo Plateau, badge case gleaming with the same 8 proofs of valor. Blue, ever the sharp-tongued rival, pushes Chase to the brink. His team, a mirror of ambition honed over years. But peek beyond this timeline, and you see Red and Blue re-emerge, not as fresh-faced prodigies, but as weathered veterans, their capes frayed, their eyes carrying the weight of multiple eras. Fast forward to the modern Pokémon world, those icons stride into frames like ghosts from a bygone age. In the sun-drenched islands of Alola, Red appears cloaked in silence, his Pikachu a loyal sentinel, challenging you atop Mount Lanakila with movesets refined by decades. Blue stands nearby, no longer the brash kid from Pallet, but a gym leader in Viridian, his voice gravelly with experience, Arcanine at his flank like an old warhorse. They've aged into paragons, their Kanto conquests intact despite the divergences. How do they bridge these worlds? It's as if the multiverse folds them back in, preserving their triumphs, while Chase carves his parallel path. You battle them under alien skies, their strategies layered with history. Blue's taunts laced with nostalgia. Red's quiet intensity, a testament to battles unseen. This multiverse isn't mere fan theory, it's woven into the game's fabric. The main timeline, that original universe where Red topples Giovanni and claims the championship, persists alongside variants. 3 years slip by, and heroes from Johto storm back into Kanto, dismantling Rocket's remnants in the radio tower and beyond, only to face Red himself on Mount. Silver's snow-swept peak, a silent colossus, his team untamed. But Leia in the Let's Go branch and Chase's victory rewrites the immediacy, yet Red endures as the eternal summit. Then comes the Mega Evolution Ripple, a seismic retroactive quake that reshapes Kanto's ancient bones. Picture the skies above the region, fracturing with otherworldly energy. Mega evolutions, those explosive transformations dormant since antiquity. awakening remakes like Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, but their echoes thunder back to Kanto's core. In this altered history, stones embedded across the land, deep in rock tunnels gloom, atop the power plant's rusted girders, pulse with forgotten power. Trainers like you attune to them, awakening megaforms in Pokémon that once fought plain. Giovanni himself, that shadowy overlord, clutches the Earth Badge not just as Viridian's leader, but as a harbinger of this power. In the fire-red and leaf-green echoes, his Persian mega evolves mid-battle, fur igniting with primal fury, forcing you to adapt or fall. The timeline bends backward. Cerulean Cave's shadows deepen as Mewtwo, perhaps, senses kindred mega potential in its genes. The Elite Four's lairs transform. Lorelei's icy Glaceon surges into a crystalline behemoth. Hey Bruno's Machamp swells with fourfold might. Even the birds Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres hint at mega destinies glimpsed in later lore, their forms etched into Kanto's cliffs, retroactively amplified. This divergence heals old wounds, while cracking new ones. Kanto's history, once linear, from Pallet Town's humble starts to Indigo Plateau's glory, splinters into infinities. The Safari Zone, shuttered and reborn as Pal Park, funnels Pokémon across timelines. Porygon glitches between realities, its digital code bridging the gaps. Red and Blue, those veterans, walk these seams. Their presence an anchor amid the flux. Chase's peaceful jaunt, a dreamlike what-if, where Kanto heals without the scars of endless fights. You feel it in the wind over Route 1, the subtle hum of possibilities. One path roars with conflict, another sighs in tranquility, and beneath it all, mega energies pulse like a hidden heartbeat. Which timeline calls to you as you drift towards sleep? But some secrets lurk not in timelines, but in the waves themselves. Up next in Chapter 19, the mystery of the SS Anne will uncover why that luxury liner vanished into legend, leaving only whispers of doomed voyages and unfinished rivalries aboard its fog-shrouded decks. I hope you're as amazed by this as I am. If you want to stay updated on more content like this, make sure to subscribe and join our community of curious minds. Trust me, what's coming next will challenge everything you thought you knew. In the original Kanto timeline, where Red's battles rage unchecked across every route and cave, the seas off Vermilion City hold a far more glamorous secret than the calm voyages of the Let's Go world. There, only docked just once a year at the bustling harbour, sits the SS Anne, a towering luxury liner that transforms the sleepy port into a gateway for the world's elite. Picture the scene as your ticket finally grants you passage. The gangway creaks underfoot, leading up to decks lined with polished mahogany rails and crystal chandeliers swaying gently with the tide. This isn't just any ship. The SS Anne embodies Kanto's unexpected reach into global luxury travel, ferrying passengers from distant regions like Hoenn's sun-drenched coasts and Sinnoh's icy fjords. Trainers from Pallet Town rub shoulders with jet-setters who've sailed from Unova's skyscraper ports, all drawn by whispers of rare trades and impromptu battles under starlit skies. Kanto, that foundational heart of the Pokémon world, punches far above its weight here, proving its ports aren't mere pit stops, but hubs where the archipelago's influence stretches across oceans. Yet lingering in the shadows of that grand vessel is one of Kanto's most enduring myths, the infamous truck. Parked innocuously in Vermilion's lot, right beside the SS Anne's exclusive berth, this weathered vehicle has fueled fan theories for decades. Legend claims that beneath its rusted frame hides Mew itself, the elusive new species Pokémon, curled up in eternal slumber. Some say it's a cruel prank by dock workers, a nod to the frustration of missing the liner's annual arrival. Others dig deeper into the lore. In the game's hidden delta, that truck stands as a placeholder, an unfinished Easter egg from the rushed final builds of Red and Blue. Developers at Game Freak allegedly planned a Mew encounter there, But time constraints buried it, literally. Players who glitch their way under the dock or use out-of-bounds tricks where they glimpse flickering pixels, a ghostly tale vanishing into the code. It's the perfect Kanto riddle, blending the glamour of international arrivals with a gritty urban myth that keeps theorists up at night. Why does the SS Anne vanish for 11 months of the year, only to reappear in Vermilion like a fleeting comet? The lore paints it as an ultra-exclusive cruise, charting a precise itinerary that hugs Kanto's eastern seaboard before vanishing into international waters. In-game, you board during a narrow window, just after earning the Thunder Badge from Lieutenant Surge, timing that aligns with Vermilion's annual harbour festival. Sailors whisper, it's no accident. The ship's owners, shadowy magnates tied to Silph Company, schedule it to coincide with the migration of rare sea Pokémon, drawing elite clientele eager for water-type captures amid the luxury. Miss that single docking, and you're left staring at the empty pier, the truck your only consolation prize. Fire red and leaf green expand this subtly, hinting at the vessel's global circuit. It departs Vermilion, laden with Kanto-exclusive exports, like rare berries from Cerulean Cave, bound for Johto's goldenrod markets, or even Carlos luxury auctions. That once-a-year tease underscores Kanto's isolation. Your region feels vast and connected, yet profoundly alone when the liner slips away on the horizon. Board deeper, and the SS Anne reveals its true allure for serious trainers. Beyond the opulent dining halls, where waiters serve fresh lumberries on silver platters, lie staterooms packed with hidden treasures. Poke around the galley, and you'll unearth a calcium tucked in a corner crate, boosting your Pokemon's special stats for the battles ahead. Venture to the captain's quarters. After besting the onboard rivals, those elite trainers pacing the upper decks, their teams honed from years of league circuits, and claim the HM for cut. But those items aren't random loot. They're breadcrumbs from the ship's international guests, a hidden ether in a trash bin, left by a Hoenn coordinator practicing contests, a Max Repel stashed under a bunk, discarded by a Sinnoh veteran prepping for Distortion World dives. This floating palace attracts the creme de la creme, gym leaders in disguise scout talent, while unmarked black belts from Saffron's fighting dojo test newcomers, with matchups that hit like freight trains. It's a pressure cooker of prestige, where a kid from Pallet can trade a Pidgey for a world-class Venusaur, all under the salt-kissed breeze. At the helm of this enigma stands the captain himself, a paradox wrapped in nautical blues. Afflicted by crippling seasickness, he clings to his quarters, porcelain basin at the ready, even as his ship cuts through swells that would steady lesser men. You find him there, pale and swaying, after clearing the deck of challengers. In gratitude, or perhaps delirious haze, he hands over the cut HM, murmuring about vines that part like obedient soldiers. This isn't mere comic relief, it's woven into Kanto's mechanical lore. Cut, that essential tool for slashing through Viridian Forest overgrowth or rock tunnel barriers, ties directly to the SS Anne's maritime mastery. Legends among Vermilion fishermen claim the captain's ailment stems from an ancient curse linked to the ship's figurehead, a carved lapra said to summon storms if disrespected. In Yellow's expanded script, Pikachu even zaps him playfully, underscoring the human frailty amid Pokémon power. His gift propels you forward, carving paths where none existed, a reminder that Kanto's progress often hinges on unlikely alliances forged at sea. The SS Anne fades into mist after your visit, its lights twinkling one last time before the annual cycle resets. But those hidden depths, from mythic trucks to seasick saviors, etch it into Kanto's soul as more than a cruise. It's a crossroads of worlds where luxury meets legend. As you step back onto Vermilion's docks, heavier with items and HM in hand, the real mystery lingers. What shadows lurk beneath the surface glamour of nearby cities? That question pulls us straight into Celadon City's dark underbelly, where the glittering facade of department stores conceals Team Rocket's most insidious operations yet. As the SS Anne slips away from Vermilion's harbour for another year, many trainers turn their steps northward towards Celadon City, that sprawling metropolis where glittering storefronts promise endless treasures, yet conceal a festering shadow just steps away. You arrive in Celadon under a canopy of blooming cherry blossoms, their petals drifting like soft pink snow across wide boulevards lined with neon signs and towering glass facades. At the heart of it all stands the Celadon department store, a 7-story marvel of Kanto commerce, its exterior a symphony of polished marble and chrome that reflects the sun in blinding arcs. Elevators hum smoothly between floors stocked with every trainer's dream. Rare TMs tucked in velvet cases, fresh berries piled high in wicker baskets, and aisles upon aisles of Pokeballs gleaming under soft spotlights. The air carries the faint scent of polished wood and vanilla from the rooftop cafe, where you can sip tea while overlooking the city's endless sprawl. It's the pinnacle of urban elegance, a place where wealth flows freely and aspirations feel within reach, but slip just across the street and the mood shifts like a sudden eclipse. The Rocket Game Corner squats there, unassuming at first glance, a garish arcade pulsing with the chaotic symphony of slot machines clinking coins, pachinko balls rattling in glass cages, and the tinny blare of victory fanfares mixed with desperate cheers and sighs. The floor sticks slightly underfoot from spilled soda, and the air hangs thick with cigarette smoke and the metallic tang of overheating electronics. Grunts in tracksuits huddle over levers, their faces lit in flickering green and red glows, chasing jackpots that never quite satisfy. To the casual visitor, it's just another thrill den, a spot to burn pocket change on Lady Luck. Yet this facade hides the lifeblood of Kanto's most notorious syndicate. Team Rocket didn't build their empire on Pokémon theft alone. They funneled fortunes through these very machines. Every coin slotted into those slots fed directly into Giovanni's coffers, transforming compulsive bets into black market funding for a criminal paramilitary machine. Picture warehouses stocked with stolen Pokémon, labs churning out experimental tech, and squads of operatives drilling in hidden bunkers, all bankrolled by the quiet desperation of gamblers who never suspect their losses arm a war on the league itself. In the games, you overhear grunts boasting about easy money, propping up the boss's grand schemes, their chatter laced with pride in the organization's reach. This wasn't petty crime. It was a sophisticated racket, laundering vice into venture capital for conquest. Giovanni, ever the tactician, chose Celadon for its foot traffic. Thousands of tourists and locals cycling through daily, oblivious to how their quarters grease the wheels of terror. Prize tickets won here weren't just for poorer gondolas or rare candies. They unlock the true prize, access to the underbelly. Exchange enough at the back counter, and a hidden panel slides open behind the prize booth, revealing a staircase plunging into secrecy. Descend those creaking steps, and the carnival din fades into an echoing void, replaced by the low hum of fluorescent strips and the sharp scent of damp concrete. Welcome to the Rocket Hideout's upper basement, a labyrinth of steel corridors patrolled by patrolling electrode that explode on intruders, forcing you to weave through electrified mazes. Deeper still lies the lower levels, a high-tech nerve center where Giovanni's paranoia manifests in walls of surveillance screens, flickering with feeds from every corner of Celadon. Cameras peer from alleyways, department store vents, even Erica's gym vents. Nothing escapes his gaze. Consoles blink with data streams tracking badge holders, rival movements, and Pokémon migrations, all orchestrated from his personal chamber, where he broods over maps etched with conquest lines. Giovanni's setup reeks of cold calculation, laser grids seal off vaults stuffed with smuggled goods, while ventilation shafts whisper with the distant rumble of generators powering it all. You navigate by silencing the base's Persian with a master ball, only to uncover ledgers detailing how Game Corner profits hit millions, sustaining Rocket's grip even after gym defeats. It's a fortress disguised as folly, where one wrong turn triggers swarms of Zubats or the boss's own Raiden charging from shadows. Disbanding it feels like toppling a hidden empire, coin by illicit coin. Yet amid this urban rot blooms an unlikely guardian. Erica, Celadon's grass-type gym leader, it stands as nature's quiet sentinel in a city that paves over every green inch. Her gym, nestled in a pocket park amid skyscrapers, defies the concrete jungle with walls draped in living vines and floors carpeted in moss that cushions your steps. She emerges from a curtain of hanging ferns, her kimono whispering like leaves in wind, commanding an arsenal of floral fury, Victreeble's acidic maw, Tangela's thorny embrace, Vile Plume's stupefying spores that fill the air with a cloying, hypnotic sweetness. Erica doesn't just battle, she embodies resistance. In a metropolis where department stores eclipse forests and game corners devour souls, she cultivates secret rooftop gardens, smuggling endangered Oddish through back channels and whispering to Bulbasaur about the wilds beyond the haze. Her philosophy runs deeper than rainbows after rain. Erica views Celadon's sprawl as a battlefield where smog chokes Oddish buds and neon drowns out lunar cycles for nocturnal Pokémon. Trainers who challenge her often leave with more than a rainbow badge. They carry her subtle warnings about the city's shadows, hints at the game corner's true cost to the Earth itself. Team Rocket's pollution from hidden labs seeps into her domain, poisoning soil she fights to reclaim, turning every gym match into a proxy war for balance. Giovanni covets her loyalty, his surveillance probing her routines, but Erica's roots run too deep, intertwined with Kanto's fading wilds. As you emerge from the hideout, badge in hand and Giovanni's empire cracked, Celadon's dual face lingers, the sparkle masking the stain, the guardian holding back the tide. But whispers among survivors point northward, to a cave by Cerulean, sealed tighter than any vault. Its lockdown, hiding horrors that make Rocket's basements seem tame. What lurks in the depths of the Cerulean Cave lockdown? Stick around for Chapter 21 to uncover it. While Team Rocket poured their ill-gotten gains from Celadon's shadowy game corner into schemes of domination, there was one corner of Kanto they never even whispered about infiltrating. The Cerulean Cave, a yawning chasm sealed tighter than any of Giovanni's vaults. Nestled just beyond the misty bridges of Cerulean City, this cavern plunges into the Earth's core like a forgotten wound, its entrance framed by jagged rocks slick with perpetual moisture. Authorities locked it down long before your journey even began, and for good reason. No trainer below the rank of champion is permitted inside, not even gym leaders or professors. The decree came straight from the Indigo League itself, after early explorers vanished without a trace, their pokeballs shattered and gear strewn across the threshold like grim warnings. You see, the cave isn't just dangerous, it's a crucible of raw power, home to wild Pokémon whose levels dwarf anything you've faced on the road. We're talking beasts clocking in at 50, 60, even 70, far beyond the Elite Four's guardians. Gyarados coil in subterranean lakes, their roars shaking stalactites loose from the ceiling. Alakazam hover in psychic veils, bending light and thought with effortless malice. Even common types like Raiden here mutate into juggernauts, their hides armoured thicker than Celadon steel beams, drilled by years of isolation into unrelenting ferocity. Venturing deeper, the air thickens with an unnatural hum, a vibration that sets your teeth on edge. These aren't fledgling wild encounters you can catch with a quick toss. They're apex predators, honed by the cave's merciless ecosystem into forces that could level a city block. Trainers who ignored the warnings and slipped past the barriers returned, if they returned at all, with tales of narrow escapes, their teams decimated in seconds. The league's stance is absolute. Only the champion, proven unbreakable against the world's best, can hope to navigate this gauntlet without dooming themselves or unleashing chaos on Kanto's surface. But what forged this lair into such a nightmare? It starts with the geology itself, anomalies buried under Cerulean for eons. The cave formed from ancient seismic rifts, where tectonic plates ground together in slow agony, birthing chambers laced with rare minerals that pulse with latent energy. Quartz veins glow faintly under flashlight beams, infused with traces of evolutionary stones and meteoric fragments, remnants of cosmic impacts that scarred the region millennia ago. This isn't ordinary rock, it's a natural amplifier, drawing psychic resonances from the ether and supercharging the life within. These quirks create microclimates impossible elsewhere. Geothermal vents spew steam laced with energizing spores, fostering mutations that turn ordinary golbat into crowbat swarms of blinding speed. Deep aquifers bubble with mineral-rich waters that bolster water types to godlike resilience, while electromagnetic pockets scramble electronics and ignite electric evolutions on sight. Rare species flock here instinctively, breeding in hidden grottos where the air shimmers with potential. You might glimpse Aerodactyl wheeling in vast hollows, revived from fossils stirred by quakes, or Dragonite patrolling the depths, their wings whispering thunder. It's an evolutionary hotbed where weakness is culled instantly, leaving only the elite, a perfect storm for power beyond measure. And at the heart of it all lurks the reason the cave became synonymous with dread. Mewtwo, the cloned harbinger born from humanity's hubris. You remember the whispers from Pokémon Mansion on Cinnabar, Mr. Fuji and his team, splicing Mew's jungle-harvested DNA in secret labs, birthing this genetic marvel in a bid for supremacy. But Mewtwo awoke not as a tool, but a tempest. Psychic fury erupted, reducing the facility to rubble, bodies vanishing in violet blasts. It fled north, drawn to Cerulean seclusion, like a shadow to void, carving out dominion in the cave's innermost sanctum. For years it brooded there, aura cloaking the entrance in illusions that deterred all but the boldest. Sensors picked up anomalous readings, telekinetic storms rattling Cerulean City on moonless nights. But no expedition survived long enough to confirm. The lockdown intensified, patrols encircling the perimeter with barriers etched in warning runes. Mewtwo wasn't just hiding, it was waiting, testing the world's worthiness through proxies of raw might. Then you arrive, fresh from dethroning blue atop the Indigo Plateau. The cave seal shatters at your champion status, a digital key unlocking digital peril. Yet you descend, flashlight-piercing gloom thick as ink, echoes of dripping water masking the growls ahead. Each battle escalates, Machamp shattering boulders with seismic punches. Venusaur ensnaring paths in thorned vines pulsing with venom. The air warps, pressure building like a storm front, until you breach the final chamber. A colossal dome, veined in glowing crystal, where Mewtwo materializes in a halo of indigo fury. This is no ordinary clash. It's the ultimate crucible. Mewtwo probing your soul as much as your strategy. Level 70. Psychic onslaughts twist reality. Barriers that swallow attacks. Recoveries that mock your damage. Its eyes, cold pools of engineered rage, demand you prove mastery, not just over Pokémon, but over the hubris that birthed it. Victory here cements your legend. Mewtwo's capture or defeat a testament that even gods can fall to the worthy. Yet whispers persist. Does it truly submit, or merely bide time in your shadow? The cave remains locked to this day, a silent sentinel of Kanto's untamed heart, reminding every champion of the power they wield, and the abyss staring back. But as we emerge from those echoing depths, another quiet connection in Kanto's tapestry awaits, one tying a reclusive coda to the versatile fox that stole hearts worldwide. Stick around for Chapter 22, the Bill and Eve connection, where the pixels and evolutions intertwine in ways that'll keep you drifting through the lore. While the wild Pokémon of Cerulean Cave demand isolation to contain their overwhelming might, Kanto's true revolution in handling such power came from a reclusive inventor hidden away on its eastern coast. Bill, the brilliant mind behind the PC storage system, lives an utterly eccentric existence in his sea cottage, a modest wooden haven perched where Route 12 meets the endless lap of waves against sandy dunes. Picture the salty breeze carrying the faint cries of winggull overhead as you approach his door, weathered by years of relentless sea spray, and inside chaos reigns supreme. Stacks of flickering monitors tower like ancient monoliths, wires snaking across every surface like the roots of some mechanical ordino. Bill himself, with his wild mane of hair and eyes perpetually glued to glowing screens, rarely steps out. He tinkers endlessly, surrounded by half-assembled gadgets and pokeballs scattered like forgotten treasures. Neighbours in Cerulean whisper about the odd lights flashing from his windows late into the night, or the peculiar hum that vibrates the beach during storms. This isn't just a home, it's a living laboratory where Bill pours his soul into bridging the gap between human ingenuity and Pokémon essence. His obsession stems from a deeper family legacy, one that stretches across the sea to Johto's bustling Goldenrod city. Bill's ancestors were pioneers there, merchants who traded rare Pokémon along the routes connecting Kanto's ports to Johto's heartland. Goldenrod's massive department store, with its gleaming elevators and endless aisles of supplies, owes a nod to their influence. Those early traders laid the groundwork for regional commerce, ferrying everything from evolutionary stones to hard-to-find berries. Bill grew up hearing tales of his grandfather's risky voyages, dodging storms between Vermilion Harbour and Olivine Port, always dreaming of a way to make such exchanges instantaneous, boundless. That dream crystallized into the PC storage system, a marvel that transformed Pokémon training forever. Before Bill, trainers lugged heavy Pokeballs across continents, risking theft or exhaustion on long journeys. Now, with a simple link-up to any Pokémon Center terminal, you deposit your team into digital stasis, a virtual expanse where they rest, heal, and wait. Their life force is digitized into streams of code. This isn't magic, it's pure science. Bill's algorithm compresses a Pokémon's essence, its moves, stats, even personality quirks, into packets that zip through underground cables and satellite links worldwide. Suddenly, a Pikachu from Pallet Town could trade places with a Dratini from Blackthorn City in seconds, fueling a global network of exchanges that turn local rivalries into international phenomena. Trainers everywhere owe their diverse teams to this. That Raiden you swapped for in Fuchsia, it might have wintered in Sinnoh's icy caves before beaming to your box. Bill's system doesn't just store, it connects, knitting Kanto's patchwork of routes into a web that spans regions. Saffron's towering Silph Company provided the hardware backbone, their Mr. Psychic collaborators fine-tuning the psychic resonance needed to safely digitize living beings. Without it, if the Indigo League would grind to a halt, no more last-minute reinforcements from distant allies, no more surprise aces pulled from the ether during Elite Four clashes. But genius like Bill's comes with shadows, and his greatest breakthrough blurred the lines between man and monster in ways no one anticipated. It started with an experiment gone wildly awry, the infamous teleporter accident. Deep in Sea Cottage's core room, amid whirring fans and ozone-scented air, Bill tested his prototype exchanger on himself and his beloved Eevee. The device, a hulking booth of polished chrome pulsing with blue energy, was meant to swap forms harmlessly, proving the system's fidelity. Eevee stepped in first, her fur shimmering as the teleporter scanned her adaptable DNA, those genes that twist into Vaporeon, Jolteon, or Flareon with the right nudge. Bill followed, grinning at the thrill, but a power surge from a brewing coastal storm overloaded the circuits. Reality warped in a flash of violet light. When the smoke cleared, Bill stared down at paws where hands should be, his body now sleek and vulpine, Eevee's essence fused into his own. Panic surged as he bounded across the cottage, knocking over consoles, his new tail swishing involuntarily. Voices from Goldenrod's radio tower would later buzz with rumours. A trainer in Cerulean claiming to have seen a human Eevee darting through the cape. Bill reversed it after hours of frantic reprogramming, but the incident etched something profound. Pokémon and humans share more than battles. Their forms echo in ways technology can merge, if only briefly. That fusion lingered in subtler ways. Bill's speech patterns shifted post-accident, and peppered with playful yips when excited, and his affinity for Eeva evolutions deepened. He confides to visitors, those rare souls who earn his trust, that the swap revealed Pokémon consciousness as a spectrum, not a divide. Eeva herself emerged calmer, more attuned, as if tasting humanity's resolve. This blurring fuels Bill's ongoing research, hidden upgrades to the PC system that hint at future evolutions, perhaps even human Pokémon hybrids in controlled trials. Sea Cottage's waves crash louder now, as if whispering approval to the man who dared cross the veil. His Johto roots pull him back occasionally. Consultations in Goldenrod's Game Corner basement, where old family contacts test beta exchanges. That bridge between regions, Bill embodies it. Kanto's tech wizard with Johto's trading blood, ensuring your next swap feels like destiny, yet whispers persist of side effects from his accident. Trainers reporting Pokémon emerging from boxes with faint human mannerisms. A yawn too deliberate, or a glance too knowing. As Bill's tale of transformation fades into the cottage's humming glow, another clash of Kanto's underbelly awaits. The shocking downfall detailed in Chapter 23, the Fighting Dojo's defeat, where martial pride crumbles under unexpected pressure you won't see coming. While Bill tinkered with his teleporters at Sea Cottage, pushing the boundaries between human flesh and Pokémon essence, another corner of Kanto clung fiercely to an older path, one carved by sweat, discipline, and the raw clash of fists against stone. In the heart of Saffron City, towering amid the gleaming skyscrapers and shadowed alleys, he stood the Fighting Dojo, a bastion of martial prowess that once dreamed of claiming its place among the region's elite gyms. You can almost feel the heavy air inside those walls, thick with the scent of polished wooden floors, worn smooth by countless footfalls, and the faint tang of incense burning in alcoves dedicated to forgotten masters. The dojo wasn't just a training hall, it was a living testament to Kanto's unyielding warrior spirit, where trainers and their Pokémon honed bodies and minds through grueling regimens that echoed ancient samurai codes. Black belts and white guy-clad figures moved in perfect sync, their breaths syncing with the thud of bare feet and the sharp cracks of strikes against padded posts. Here, victory wasn't handed out lightly. It was forged in the fire of repetition, where a single, misplaced stance could mean the difference between dominance and defeat. For years, the dojo masters petitioned the Pokémon League, arguing their fighting types embodied the purest form of combat discipline, worthy of an official badge. Imagine the stakes. Saffron City, Kanto's bustling nexus of trade and psychic energy, could host two gyms, they reasoned, balancing raw physicality against the ethereal might of mind over matter. But standing in their way was Sabrina, the enigmatic prodigy whose Saffron Gym channeled the overwhelming supremacy of psychic Pokémon. Her domain pulsed with an otherworldly hum, walls lined with crystals that amplified telekinetic waves, where battles unfolded not with punches but with invisible forces twisting reality itself. This wasn't mere local rivalry, it ran deep into Kanto's history, a simmering feud between fighting and psychic types that traced back through generations of trainers. In the shadowed annals of the region, tales whisper of dojos clashing with psychic enclaves in ritual bouts, where burly Machop hurled boulders only to see them halt mid-air, reversed by a Kadabra's spoonbend. Fighting types thrived on momentum, their kicks and punches building unstoppable force, like a Hitmonlee's blazing leg sweep that could shatter rock. Yet psychics countered with foresight, barriers of pure thought deflecting blows before they landed, turning brute strength into futile shadows. Kanto's lore paints this as a philosophical war, the body versus the soul, muscle memory clashing against precognitive insight. Some say it mirrored broader tensions in the land, from the disciplined monks of Mount, immune to the cerebral scholars of Celadon University, all vying for influence in a world where Pokémon power defined status. The decisive challenge came in a spectacle that still echoes in hushed trainer circles. Sabrina's Alakazam, with its towering intellect and psychic onslaughts, dismantled the dojo's proudest warriors, one by one. Waves of confusion, paralyzing pulses, and teleported strikes left even the sturdiest Primeape flailing in disarray. The Masters watched as their champions crumpled, not from superior hits, but from minds unraveled at a distance. In the end, the League decreed Saffron could support only one gym, the Psychic one, with its promise of futuristic mastery. The fighting dojo was stripped of its aspirations, relegated to a side attraction, its doors still open, but its prestige forever scarred. Yet, or in true warrior fashion, they didn't fade into obscurity. As a mark of respect, and perhaps a sly nod to their unyielding spirit, the dojo offered victors a pair of rare evolutions born from their halls, Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan. These weren't ordinary prizes, they were extensions of the dojo itself. Hitmonlee, with legs like coiled springs, embodied the kicking arts, its extensile limbs whipping through the air at speeds that blurred vision, trained through endless shadow drills under lantern light. Hitmonchan, the puncher supreme, channeled boxing precision, fists glowing with elemental fury, fire, ice, thunder, honed on suspended bags that swung like pendulums in the dim glow of dawn practices. To truly grasp these gifts, you have to understand the spiritual core that birthed them. Yet mastering Pokémon martial arts demanded more than physical reps. It required a zen-like surrender, where trainer and Pokémon merged wills in meditative trances. Picture sessions at midnight, masters guiding Tyrogue through breathing cycles that synced heartbeats, channeling ki into strikes that split air with a whoosh. This discipline wove body, spirit, and Pokémon essence into one. Far from Bill's mechanical mishaps, it was organic transcendence. Trainers fasted for days, balancing on one foot atop dojo pillars, while their Mankey meditated on rage control, emerging with focus sharp as a blade. Fail, and the Pokémon's wild fury could turn inward. Succeed, and you wielded a force that psychics could only predict, never fully contain. Even today, those who claim these prizes carry the dojo's ghost, their battles infused with that unquenchable fire. The dojo's fall reshaped Saffron's undercurrents, a reminder that in Kanto, power shifts like sand under waves. Fighting types adapted, scattering to other gyms like Fuchsia's Poison Dens or Cinnabar's Fiery Forges, but their legacy lingers in every trainer who values grit over gimmicks. And as we turn our gaze to even older defeats and rebirths, where stone-encased relics from Kanto's primordial depths challenge the very notion of extinction. Prepare yourself for Chapter 24. The Fossil Resurrection, a tale of lightning-struck bones and revived titans that will make you question what truly slumbers beneath the earth. As the psychic masters of Saffron City overshadowed the old fighting dojo, casting long shadows over Kanto's rivalries between mind and muscle, a quieter revolution brewed on the fiery shores of Cinnabar Island. There in the depths of a once grand mansion turned laboratory, scientists unlocked the ultimate defiance of time itself, resurrecting Pokémon long extinct, pulling them from the Earth's cold grip back into the light of day. Picture the Cinnabar Pokémon Lab, tucked away beneath the ruins of a sprawling estate, scarred by fire and forgotten experiments. You arrive on that volcanic isle, the air thick with sulphurous steam rising from cracks in the black rock, the distant rumble of underground magma echoing like the heartbeat of some ancient beast. In your hands, a fragile relic, a helix fossil, or perhaps a dome-shaped stone etched with the curve of a forgotten shell. You hand it over to the lab's enigmatic researcher, a figure shrouded in lab coat and mystery, who feeds it into a hulking machine humming with otherworldly energy. That device, a marvel of Kanto ingenuity, doesn't just restore, it rebuilds from the molecular blueprint of the past. Ancient DNA, preserved impeccably within the fossilized remains, gets amplified and reconstructed through a process blending genetic splicing with raw electrical surges, much like the cloning vats that birthed Mewtwo years earlier in a distant jungle lab. But here, it's purer, more deliberate. The machine whirs, lights pulse in rhythmic blues and greens, and slowly, the stone cracks open. A swirl of mist escapes, and out tumbles a living creature, blinking in confusion at its sudden rebirth. Omanite, the spiral Pokémon, its tentacles writhing tentatively in the humid air. This isn't mere science fiction. It's the pinnacle of Cinnabar's forbidden research, and born from decades of excavation and trial. The lab's founders scoured Kanto's depths for these genetic time capsules, piecing together fragments of a world drowned in cataclysm. And as that Omanite shakes off the dust of eons, you can't help but wonder what oceans it once ruled, what skies its kin pierced before the continents shifted and the waves reclaimed their throne. Those prehistoric seas of Kanto teemed with wonders now lost to legend, creatures that dominated an era when the land we know as Pallet Town lay submerged beneath vast primordial waters. Omanite floated in spiraling schools, their shells gleaming like jewels in the sunlight, filtering through coral reefs that stretched from what would become Cerulean Cave to the depths of Cinnabar's coast. These Ammonite Pokémon propelled themselves with jet-like bursts, in hunting schools of armoured fish in currents teeming with life, their psychic senses attuned to the subtle vibrations of prey hidden in the murk. Then there were the Kabuto, scuttling along the seafloor in armoured hordes, their dome shells mimicking the trilobites of Earth's own ancient past, eyes compound and unblinking, scanning the sediment for morsels stirred by passing leviathans. They burrowed into sandy beds during storms, emerging only when the waters calmed, their evolutionary kin evolving into the mighty Kabutops, scythe-armed reapers that slashed through the shallows with brutal efficiency. Kanto's ancient shores echoed with the clash of their blades against predators, carving out territories in a brutal underwater ballet. High above, piercing the clouds over a Kanto still raw and volcanic, Aerodactyl soared on leathery wings spanning twice a man's height. This pterosaur terror snatched prey from the waves with razor talons, its jagged maws snapping shut on unwary swimmers below. Fossils whisper of massive flocks blotting out the sun, nesting in crags that would one day crumble into Mount Moon's caverns. Earthquakes and eruptions drove them to extinction, burying their bones under layers of ash and lava flow, until only echoes remained in amber-trapped wings and stone-carved skulls. Those bones found their eternal rest in places like Mount Moon, that labyrinthine graveyard riddling the heart of Kanto like veins of forgotten history. Venture into its shadowed tunnels, flashlight beam cutting through perpetual dusk, and you'll feel the weight of millennia pressing down. The air grows stale, laced with the mineral tang of damp earth as Clefairy songs faintly echo from hidden chambers. Mount Moon isn't just a cave, it's a vast ossuary where cataclysmic floods and collapses entombed entire ecosystems. Millions of years ago, as seas receded and land buckled, ancient Pokémon perished en masse in these forming fissures. Omanite shells piled in drifts, Kabuto husks armoured the floors, Aerodactyl wings fossilised mid-dive. The mountain swallowed them whole, crystallizing their remains under immense pressure. But Mount Moon holds darker treasures too, scattered like fallen stars, the luminous moonstones born from the same upheavals. These gems, veined with cosmic energy, tumbled from meteor impacts that scarred the region long before human memory. They litter the deepest pits, glowing faintly, waiting to evolve the Clefairy that dance in moonlit clearings. Ah, the Clefairy, those ethereal sprites with skin like polished moon rock, eyes wide as saucers reflecting starlight. Legends swirl around them thicker than the fog in Mount Moon's Zubat-infested halls. Elders in Pewter City whisper of moon landings, not of men, but of these pink wanderers descending on shooting stars, drawn to Kanto's magnetic anomalies. Clefairy evolve under the full moon's gaze, empowered by those very moonstones unearthed from ancient graves, their bodies shimmering as they transform into the robust Clefable. But the myths run deeper, hinting at origins beyond our world. Clefairy craft moon rocks into crowns and scepters, their moves like meteor mash summoning celestial fury, as if echoing some interstellar journey. Researchers speculate meteorites carried their eggs to Earth or Kanto, crashing into Mount Moon's cradle, seeding life from the void. Wild Clefairy shun daylight, emerging only at night to perform rituals that mimic lunar cycles. Their songs a haunting lullaby that draws trainers into trance-like wonder. Could they be visitors, refugees from a shattered moon, guardians of prehistoric secrets intertwined with fossil kin? In Cinnabar's lab, reviving these ancients bridges that cosmic divide, blending earthly extinction with stellar rebirth. Each helix pulses with the memory of drowned seas, each dome with armoured endurance, each old amber with the roar of forgotten skies. Trainers who claim them feel the pull of deep time, their new partners gazing skyward as if remembering the cataclysms that felled their ancestors. Yet for all the lab's triumphs, Mount Moon remains a sealed vault, its Clefairy cults warding deeper chambers from the curious. What other relics slumber there, waiting for resurrection? The fossils we revive are just the beginning, fragments of a Kanto forged in fire, flood and falling stars. As these ancient powers stir once more in the hands of Kanto's boldest trainers, whispers grow of the one who mastered them all, the enduring shadow of victory on the Indigo Plateau. Join me next in Chapter 25, The Legacy of the Kanto Champion, where we'll uncover the triumphs and trials that etched a single name into eternity, leaving even revived fossils in awe. As the revived fossils of Omanyte and Kabuto splashed into Cinnabar's coastal waters, testing their ancient instincts against the modern waves, few could have foreseen how one trainer's triumph would echo through every corner of Kanto's history. Red, the silent prodigy from Pallet Town, didn't just claim the title of champion, he forged the unbreakable mould for every hero who chased badges after him. You can trace it back to that fateful climb up the Indigo Plateau. Red, with his Pikachu at his side and a Pokédex humming with freshly catalogued species, stormed through Lorelei's icy defences, Bruno's towering fighters, Agatha's spectral illusions, and Lance's roaring dragons. Then came Blue, his rival-turned-champion, perched on that throne with a smirk that hid the scars of their shared battles. When Red's final attack landed, the crowd's roar wasn't just for victory, it was the birth of a legend. Every protagonist since, from Ethan's determined stride in Johto to glorious sky-high adventures in Galar, carries Red's shadow. They all start wide-eyed in a quiet town, collect those 8 gleaming badges, dismantle a shadowy syndicate, and face the Elite Four's gauntlet. Red made it the blueprint, the underdog who topples titans, the kid who turns a professor's starter into a world shaker. Without his quiet resolve, there'd be no template for the endless cycle of journeys that define Pokémon's soul. But Red's legacy runs deeper than strategy guides or speedrun records. He flipped Kanto on its head, dragging it from the grip of crime lords into an era of heroes. Picture Viridian Gym before his arrival. Giovanni's lair, pulsing with the grunt's black market dealings, Pokémon smuggled through hidden silos beneath the Earth's quiet forests. Team Rocket ruled the underbelly, stealing rare beasts from Cerulean Gym, rigging slot machines in Celadon to fund their empire, even haunting the Pokémon Tower with ghastly swarms to mask their experiments. Kanto was a powder keg, where every shadow hid a Pokéball snatch and every ocean route carried whispers of black market trades. Red changed that. He infiltrated their Silph Company stronghold, badge after badge, stripping away their lieutenants until Giovanni himself crumpled in the Viridian dust. The boss vanished into obscurity, his organization shattered like a poorly thrown Ultra Ball. In the years that followed, Kanto bloomed. Gyms that once bowed to fear reopened under new lights. Viridian's doors swung wide again, no longer a front for theft, but a beacon for trainers seeking the Earth badge. Saffron's streets, each once choked with rocket patrols, filled with families strolling past the reborn fighting dojo. Even the Safari Zone, shuttered after Bioba's departure, transformed into Pal Park, a haven where migratory Pokémon danced under regulated nets. Heroes rose in Red's wake, trainers like the Johto Wanderers who crossed the sea 3 years later, mopping up Rocket's desperate comeback by swapping that vital machine part and radio jamming their airwaves. Kanto shifted from a region of whispered crimes to one of celebrated quests, where Professor Oak's lab in Pallet became synonymous with hope, not just handouts of Charmanders. Red's victory painted the land in heroic hues, proving a single trainer could redeem an entire world. Yet woven into this triumphant tapestry is a glitch that haunts the edges of reality itself, the enduring mystery of MissingNo. It wasn't born in some lab like Mewtwo, cloned from jungle whispers in a crumbling mansion. No, MissingNo emerged from the code's fractures, a spectral birdfish hybrid glitching into existence when you'd surf beneath the Seafoam Islands waves or fiddle with the old man's Pokémon naming trick in Cinnabar's gym. Players stumbled on it in those early 98 cartridges, a forbidden 91 Pokémon that bloated item bags to 999 and warped sprites into avian abominations. But look closer, and it's no mere bug, it's meta-narrative gold, a ghost in Kanto's machine that mirrors the region's own anomalies. Just as Mewtwo shattered its creator's expectations and fled to Cerulean Cave's depths, our MissingNo defies the Pokédex's order, a reminder that even the foundational world holds secrets too unstable for the champion's grasp. Devs at Game Freak left it lingering, unpatched in blue and yellow, as if inviting us to question what else lurks in the data streams, echoing Red's own post-game hunt for the unclonable Mew. That glitch underscores why Kanto endures as the most revisited, reimagined region in Pokémon history. No other land has been remade so relentlessly. Gold and silver draped its coasts in autumn leaves 3 years post-Red, with gyms reshuffled and Rocket's ruins still smouldering. Fire Red and Leaf Green rebuilt it pixel by pixel in 2004. Faithful, yet expanded. Mew unlocked under truck shadows. Heart Gold and Soul Silver let you bike its roots again. Pokegear buzzing with radio tunes from the repurposed Pokémon Tower. Then Let's Go in 2018 twisted the timeline into a multiverse branch, where a trainer named Chase, not Red, topples Rocket in a world without wild battles, Pikachu and Eevee bounding at your heels like living partners. Even Sun and Moon summoned Red himself to Alola's peak, his cap shadowing eyes that had seen Kanto's every secret. Kanto's pull is magnetic because it's the origin, the biomes that birthed the formula, from Viridian Forest's Caterpie rustles to the plateaus where champions are forged. Every remake peels back layers, revealing timeline divergences, the main universe where Red reigns eternal on Mount Silver, silent and unbeatable until a Johto hero scales those peaks, the LG variant where history rewrites itself. And it's been revisited 7 times across generations, more than any other, because tampering with Kanto is tampering with Pokémon's heart. Red's footprint ensures it. His victory didn't end the story. It sparked an endless remix, where glitches like MissingNo nod to the chaos he tamed, and heroic shifts inspire every new generation. Kanto stands as the eternal standard, a region where crime's ashes fertilized fields of legend. And as the sun dips low over those familiar horizons, we'll uncover the poignant tale waiting in Chapter 26, the final sunset over Pallet. What secrets does that humble town hold in its twilight? Stay with me, as the echoes of Red's triumphs fade across Kanto's healed landscapes, where shadows of Team Rocket's schemes have given way to the steady rhythm of new beginnings. One quiet truth lingers in the salt-kissed air of Pallet Town. The champion always comes home. Not to fanfare or parades, but to the unassuming wooden fences and wildflower meadows that birthed their legend. Picture that final sunset, the sky bleeding orange and violet over the rolling hills, casting long shadows from the professor's lab toward the sea. Red stands there, pokeballs worn smooth from countless releases, his first partner at his side, perhaps that faithful Venusaur, or Charizard's wings folded in rare repose, or Blastoise's shell etched with the scars of 1,000 battles. They've circled back to where it all ignited, the journey's arc bending full circle. Pallet Town holds this secret like a whispered promise. It's not just a starting point on the map, marked by Oak's Ranch and the simple route snaking north to Viridian. I know it's the anchor of Kanto's soul, a place where the world's pulse slows to the gentle lap of waves against the shore and the distant low of Tauros in the fields. After the badges gleam in your case, after the Elite Four crumble, and even Mewtwo's cavernous roars echo only in memory, you return here. The game doesn't spell it out in flashing text. There's no mandatory homecoming quest, but the pull is undeniable. Red slips away from the Indigo Plateau spotlights, evading the crowds that once hailed Blue as their fleeting king. He walks those dirt paths again, the same ones that crunched under his sneakers on day 1, now softened by 3 years of rain and forgotten footsteps. That cyclical heartbeat of the Pokémon world reveals itself most clearly in Pallet's hush. Professor Oak, with his white coat perpetually dusted from lab experiments, stands as the eternal sentinel. He handed you your Pokédex at the dawn, that sleek device humming with empty entries waiting to be filled. And now, as champions fade into myth, he does it again for the next wide-eyed kid from down the lane. The torch passes not with ceremony, but in the quiet exchange of a Pokeball, the spark of a new Bulbasaur unfurling its bulb under the lab's fluorescent glow, or a Squirtle blinking up from its shell, oblivious to the legends it will chase. Kanto doesn't end. It renews. Gold from Johto's golden fields, crosses the border 3 years on, collects badges from gyms reshaped by time, Giovanni's Viridian throne empty, Misty's pool still rippling with defiance, and climbs Mount Silver not for glory, but to test himself against the silent pinnacle of Red. The cycle spins onward, each hero's sunset birthing another's dawn. In these final reflections, the sleepy lore of Kanto's quietest corners weaves one last tapestry. Remember Cerulean Cave's lockdown, that yawning abyss sealed against all but the worthy, where Mewtwo broods in psychic tempests, or Bill's sea cottage, waves crashing eternal witness to his teleport mishaps and Eevee's loyal gaze, the fighting dojo's faded banners in saffron, humbled by Sabrina's mind-bending reign, Cinnabar's geothermal labs humming with resurrected fossils from epochs when Kabuto scuttled across primordial shores, and Red's own legacy, transforming a syndicate-haunted land into a cradle of aspiration. Pallet cradles them all. These obscure threads, Mr. Fuji's jungle quest for Mew, the DNA helix twisting into godlike fury, Bioba's safari zone shuttered, its ghosts now roaming Palpark's enclosures, even Porygon's digital birth in hidden server farms, flickering like fireflies in the night. These aren't shouted epics, but bedtime murmurs lulling you through the fog of half-remembered dreams. Yet at the heart of it pulses the enduring bond, unbreakable as the professor's ranch fences weathered by storms. Your first partner, that Charmander's hesitant flame on Route 1, flickering against the tall grass's sway. The Eve from Celadon, who chose you over the boutique's glitter. Pikachu's electric spark in the Let's Go tales, zapping through a world without wild tussles. They don't just battle beside you, they mirror your every stride. Red's starter, evolved through Viridian Forest's shadows, and Silph Co, Kii's corporate labyrinth, returns with him to Pallet not as a tool, but as family. They watch that sunset together, tails swishing in unison, breaths syncing with the tide. No words needed, the Pokédex entries fade, badges gather dust on Oak's shelf, but this tether endures. Through timeline branches from the main saga's unyielding canon to Let's Go's brighter hues, where Chase claims the cape instead, the first bond whispers, home is where the journey rests, ready to ignite anew. As the sun dips fully below the horizon, painting Pallet's rooftops in twilight's embrace, Kanto exhales, the crimes quelled, the legends etched, the quiet corners' secrets shared under starlit canopies. Red turns toward the lab, his silhouette merging with the gathering dusk, while somewhere in the fields, a new Pokeball stirs. The world turns, ever cyclical, ever sleepy, inviting you to drift now, with these tales wrapped around you like a comforter's gentle hold. What did you think of this journey? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this changed your perspective or taught you something new, consider subscribing for more mind-expanding content. And if you know someone who would find this as fascinating as you did, share it with them. These are the kind of conversations that matter.